Well, you're in a rotten mood.
Oh, I have no response to that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast. I'm bringing you a lot of energy for this one because it's Joe versus the Volcano. With me today, we have.
Volcano.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kiki Ryder.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs. By the way, Crimson, great reverb on that. Nicely done. Hey, if you are. Oh boy, where the heck do you want to be from the? Let's just say LA. If you're from LA, maybe you're not from LA, but even if you aren't, you can find us over on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Ski, Twitter. We have a letterbox where we have our average out numbers and graphs or whatever it is we have covered. We have a TikTok. We have YouTube and Rumble for visual side of things. We have tons of audio platforms that don't have visual side of things because maybe that's what you prefer. And I think that's everything. Roll the intro. And we're back from the intro. All right. Let's see here. How the structure today is going to go. We're going to go over our histories of this film. Then we're going to do some fun facts for you. Then we're going to go into the whole coverage of the movie, which is going to be popcorn structure today. And then we're going to wrap it all up with a nice bow with summaries and ratings. Hopefully that flows okay. So, let us start with our histories. Let's start with Crimson.
Alrighty, so this is a movie I've heard of, only through the lens of that it's one of Tom Hanks' worst movies, and that it isn't a good movie. That is all. I've never seen a trailer, I never knew what it was about, never even saw an image of it, so pretty blind going into this. One time for the podcast.
Alright, sweet. Let's go with Writer next.
Honestly, I thought I had never seen anything in this movie before, but again, much like with the previous Tom Hanks film, I have seen a clip out of context from this movie before, but that is the extent of my history. Nothing.
Okay. And for me, I'm kind of in the same ballpark as Crimson a little. I have never seen this movie. I've heard of this movie. And what I have heard is that this is the worst Tom Hanks movie possibly out there that he ever did. And I didn't know it. And I think I don't know if I've seen any like snippets of clips or anything from this film, but what I have seen is that there was a kind of like a sketch kind of thing on the James Corden show where he goes through like filmographies of actors' films, and he did one for Tom Hanks. And there's a little clip of Tom Hanks just yelling at a volcano. So I guess that's the closest thing I've seen. But I guess if that's all our histories, we'll jump into some facts here. Audience, I took these off the internet, so take them with a little grain of salt of how true or false they may be. Hopefully leaning on the true side, but its initial release date was March 9th, 1990. It has a runtime. I hope so, Crimson. I really hope so. Because if it's not, we're screwed. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 42 minutes. Its budget, from what I found, was 25 million USD, where it received a box office of 39.4 million USD. So positive, but don't think it made enough. It is rated PG, and it is listed as a genre of comedy, romance, and boy, I feel like that comedy is a blanket of an excuse, but we'll get to that later. And it is directed by John Patrick Shanley, who, from what I could find, has only directed two other movies, 2008's film Doubt and 2020's Wild Mountain Thyme.
Well, I've heard of Joe versus Volcano, at least.
Yeah, so he made a movie in 1990, 2008, and 2020. So I can't wait for his fourth film to come out in 2037.
We'll cover it here on the podcast.
Who knows? Then I got a couple fun facts. First one being, this is Tom Hanks' 15th film to star in, directly after The Burbs. Burbs was his 14th. This was the 15th.
How appropriate.
Next one is the books that Joe shows to Mr. Waturi describe the plot of the film. Romeo and Juliet, Robinson Crusoe, and The Odyssey.
He doesn't
Oh,
really make a journey home though. That's I just
it's
I
up to him.
guess.
He writes the credits into the sunset.
Eh, next I have is not only did Meg Ryan play all 3 female leads, but she also did the voice of the flight attendant welcoming the flight to Los Angeles.
Ah, well, I didn't pick that one up. The voice, I obviously got that she was all 3 of them.
Yeah. Each time Joe makes a life change, he throws away a hat. When he quits his job, when he gets on the boat, and when he goes to rescue Patricia.
Okay.
He's changing personas. I'm okay with that. That sounds okay.
He's changing books.
I only got 2 more
Oh,
here.
that's another one.
Not sure if you two caught it, but the shot of Joe and Dee Dee on the ferry against a surreal multicolored Manhattan skyline was shot on a smoke-filled soundstage where the moonlit water is actually made of black plastic garbage bags with fans blowing on them.
Well, I remember the scene. I don't remember a bunch of plastic bags everywhere. So I think they
That
achieved the
actually looks
effect.
pretty good then. Yeah, I would say they did a good job with the effects then.
And the last fact I have here is the on-screen chemistry between Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan would later return in Sleepless in Seattle, just 3 years later, but the chemistry is much different from another on-screen love interest that Tom Hanks has played besides, which being Annie Potts.
Who's Annie Potts?
You would know her from Ghostbusters. She's the she's on the
Receptionist
phone.
lady?
The receptionist, yeah.
Okay. I mean, he was with Meg Ryan in You Got Mail or whatever, right?
Was that Meg Ryan?
I think so. I could
that
be
one I didn't
wrong.
write down.
I haven't double checked that.
Well, I guess that's somewhat of you adding in your own fact if that is true or false. Does anyone else have any additional facts to add in?
I just looked. She is in that. There you go.
Oh,
They're in 3 movies together, at least.
I got nothing. So
sweet. Well, with that, then we'll jump into the cover to the movie. Again, popcorn. You can go anywhere you want in your notes, anywhere in the movie. Funny enough, I'm going to start with a big question I have about this movie.
Ooh,
And I
heavy
just
hitter.
want to know the point of view from you two on it. My question is this movie set in reality? Or is this a fake world?
I definitely thought it was a fake reality for the first half hour. After that, I'm not sure. So at best, I'm willing to say it's inconsistent with that identity.
Um, it's a tough one because I think the biggest outlier, if I was to say grounded world, is the volcano at the end. Um, Everything else is possible. They're just like weird oddball people. But the volcano really puts it into it's a weird category. It's
Do you think
almost
it's
parody like.
I would say,
almost? Do you think his
I would,
beginning job is a real kind of thing?
I would say his job is what makes the first half hour feel like it's a dystopian world of some kind.
Yeah. It's just like a heightened reality. It's not I mean, it's just heightening depressed people at work and dumb bosses. Um, so I guess maybe a heightened reality is what I would go with. It's not reality, but a little off of reality.
Okay. Heightened reality.
Out of curiosity, a follow-up question for you then, Crimson, on heightened reality. Like, I don't know if you ever saw like Joel Schumacher's Batman, like that version of Gotham, or the Tim Burton era of Gotham. Gotham is very much a distinct character in that, and obviously
Mhm.
that's not really a real city. But I guess my question is like on the level to, uh, from what that depiction of that reality is to what this is depicting as reality. Like, where does this fall? Do you think? Because
I would put the Batman one as higher, like more out there than this one.
closer to fantasy world.
Yes, I suppose.
Interesting.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm in agreement. Because I at least here, at least where Joe is in New York, I definitely feel like there's a certain character to the world, being a heightened reality of this dystopian place that they all go to for a very shitty job. Um, and then once we leave New York, though, it kind of transitions into a somewhat normal reality. Obviously, some ridiculous things still happen, but the world becomes less in character focused after he leaves the job, because I feels like we're back in reality when he's going shopping. They exaggerate a couple things, but
Yeah, I was gonna say until you hit the luggage guy who's really passionate about his job.
yeah, that would be the exception. But I think most of that would feel like it's grounded in reality. So I would say the world building, uh, it feels inconsistent, but for this pseudo wacky world, it might still work. Because the biggest things that come out to me, obviously, are the volcano at the end, and then the dystopian building that we were kind of working in with Joe. I would say even the hospital that he visits, even though he's being played, it still very much comes across as a dystopian building.
Franks, what about your opinion?
Well, back to the Batman thing. I do find Burton's and Schumacher's Gotham different, and not one and the same. Um, the the Burton one I find far more believable as a world set than the world in Joe vs. Volcano. Yet Schumacher's I see as more of that heightened, like wild townscape look, with the huge statues and colors and whatnot. Um, Joe vs. Volcano, I think Crimson, I think you kind of got it on the nail on the head with the heightened reality kind of thing, because I don't find the workplace fully believable as reality, but I also don't see like the character of Angelica to portray the life of LA fully reality, or the foreignness of the Waponis to be reality. Like all that, like they seem to be like heightened aspects of things.
Okay.
So we're all
Then we all
in
seem
a
to be on a similar page, at least.
yeah. We may not all be all on the same page, but I think we're all relatively close together because we all agree that there is some form of heightened reality going on, but we're probably when getting down to like nitty gritty details, we might find ourselves deferring a little bit.
Yeah, not on the same page, but in the same chapter.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Crimson.
All right. Well, I'll touch on something you said during the facts a little bit, and that's like the colorful city lights on that one scene where every like skyscraper had a different color. The color of the typhoon, the terrible sunrise on the beach. There's a lot of cool light stuff they're doing in this that kind of gives it a pretty unique identity, I feel, and I kind of liked it. Like I said, the sunset thing looked bad, but I for some reason I liked it. Same with the moon, just kind of fun.
Sunset.
Or
No, the
sunrise,
sunrise.
whatever it was.
Oh, the sunrise on the beach?
On the beach. On the beach, yeah. Now you've talked about artificial lighting before, and that I think is
Well, that was terrible.
the biggest glaring artificial light we've covered on the podcast. That was you could just tell that was a light off the camera turning
Yeah,
on.
someone moving a board up a spotlight or
Yeah.
something.
So, but somehow managed to fit in this movie, I think, because of how off this film is.
Yes, this movie is very off. It's a good way to describe it. The humor of this movie is so odd.
That shark caught me off guard.
The hammerhead, that was fitting
wild.
for this movie. I can get it, but it's just off.
Yeah, it is.
And it kind of gave me a tame Crimson. I know you would understand this, but Ryder, unfortunately, I don't think you've seen it. But it gives me like a very tame feel on the humor in the movie Wrong.
Heavily tamed because Wrong is off the walls weird.
Yes, but it's like that, just like the humor's off.
Yes. Yeah, I can see the comparison.
I
Because with Wrong, it's full on absurdist comedy. It's random nonsense that's happening. This, it's not really random nonsense. It is built up or relevant to what's happening. I think the shark might be the biggest outlier because it
Well,
didn't have to look like a cartoony puppet shark.
no, there are a couple of things that are, to me, fall on the side of like possible pointlessness. Like what is the humor or the ad that Dee Dee forgot her bag? What does that add?
Um,
honestly, for that, it's mostly comes across as like the actors playing the comedy almost. Like I feel it comes across to me as like they enjoyed the way she was playing the actress was playing that particular character. So they just added as many lines of dialogue as possible because they found that funny in particular.
Okay,
you're
so
gonna have
they
to
have it.
jog my memory. I don't remember this bag part.
Dee Dee leaves because she's uncomfortable with Joe saying he's going to die, and she leaves his apartment, but then comes back and says, "I left my bag."
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was thinking of a different character. My bad. So, yeah. Then that's just to break up the point. The purpose of that particular comedy is to break up what's going to be a sad scene. But there's literally no other point as to what I think that's trying to achieve. It's so you don't sink into despair with Joe, because Joe is obviously thinking he's going to die. So that's done to kind of alleviate the seriousness of the situation that played out. I'm not saying that it was a good choice that the film made, but I think that's the comedy they're going for.
Okay, I just feel like there's a good amount of that in the film, or either it's like a one line or one action or something that just made me question why was this kept in.
I think that one the purpose of that one is feels like it's tonal reasons why it was kept in. Um but I don't really research like what the intent of the authors typically are.
I don't know, I kind of just feels like it fits the character of Dee Dee. So I just felt that was an addition to add more of her.
Okay. Hmm. Well, with that, let's go to writer.
Yeah, I might hop on your comedy bit just for a second. I will say that comedy is definitely varies. It feels like they were laughing more behind set than they were trying to get the audience to laugh. Does that make sense? Because I could see all these things that they're doing comedy wise being funny on set, like they had fun recording it, but not quite translating to what the audience reception was going to be.
Like an inside joke with a group of friends is funny to the friends, but to the outside, it's not very funny because they don't understand it.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
got
how the
that.
comedy comes across as to me. Not saying that's what it is, but
I
So, like
can kind of feel
inside
that in
joke
some
humor.
scenes.
Hmm.
Well, not that it's inside jokes, just the vibes that I think writer is getting off of some of the deliveries is it was more fun for the actors than the delivery for the film. Unless I'm making that up, writer. Is that about what you're saying?
no, that's close to what I'm saying. Yeah, I it's kind of hard to put a particular nail in the coffin of this comedy because it's sometimes it's almost parody level what's going on, and then it pulls away from that to have more. I'm gonna put this in quotes, subtle humor. um,
Writer, do you see it as a detriment to a movie especially one listed as comedy, to have more than one variation of comedy in it?
No, that wouldn't inherently be a bad thing.
Okay.
I would say kind of I for this one, the only objective thinking I might apply towards it is that it might affect the pacing of the film a little bit. Because there are certain scenes that comedically drag on that aren't necessarily full on comedy scenes. I'm thinking of the fishing one. Like, there's an absurdist part to it that somehow, like, Joe tangled his hand in, the fishing strings, but we don't see how or why that happened. So there's comedy in the scene, and it drags on because obviously he's not getting any fishes. And I do think they keep the hits coming. Obviously, it ends with the absurd shark. So it feels like I don't know. It's hard to put into words. I guess the feeling of the comedy in this.
Yeah,
Okay.
because with the fishing
Investigator's
scene,
off.
it starts as pretty normal, like she's catching a bunch of fish and he's getting jealous of like, well, why aren't I getting any? That's like a subtle, low level humor, and then it escalates with the
Yeah,
shark. It shifts.
I could agree with that.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'll go to something. Very early on in the movie, when Joe is entering his work, there's, I think it's his shoe for, yeah, it goes to like him stepping in a puddle, and then his arms out wide and like an up and over shot, then to like pan up to the factory. I get the approach of what the idea of this shot is, and I think it's a neat idea. The execution on the screen is terrible. It is so stuttery.
Is it to parallel with the moon? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the shot
Oh,
and
okay.
execution of doing that whole moving camera shot is not smooth. Like they needed to redo it. Like the rigging or the of what the camera was on was not loose enough, and it's very stuttery and choppy.
What shot is this?
Him at
When
that
Joe
factory.
enters the factory and steps in a puddle, and
Oh,
then
okay.
he's like, "Oh, my day's being terrible," and it opens up his arms, and the camera like goes up from him, and then to show the factory.
I'll take your word for that one because I don't really remember it being jittery or bad.
I don't have issues with that. I'm fine. For me, that comes down to this is going to be personal preference. I think for me, Springs, because I this obviously doesn't factor into my objective scale, but when it comes to like shots being smooth or jittery when you're going from a sort of a close up to a like I said an overhead shot, I I've seen it. I think I tend to think those are unless it's like deliberately shaking, like how JJ slaps his cameras, kind of shaking. I don't think I'll ever really have issues with those kinds of camera angles because for me, there's sometimes where you have those camera angles and it like when everything is smooth. Uh, let's just they reshot it the rigging whatever and it was very smooth. There are sometimes when that happens and it doesn't feel. Uh, Again, this is why it's subjective for me. It doesn't feel real within the world. Not that it needs to be in world, but doesn't feel real in the demonstration of whatever the camera is trying to achieve. So I personally can't get consistent with that because I've seen shots where that works overhead jittery and shots where it you know where it doesn't, and then vice versa for it being smooth where I think it works and where it doesn't.
Ryder, I totally get that from you, being that you watched Thor without realizing there's Dutch angles.
Well, I mean, if we're talking overhead shots with jittery, I'm thinking actually of Amon Hen, the overhead shot that leads from Aragorn to Boromir. Because that entire camera angle going over the Fellowship and the Uruk-hai is shaking the entire time. It's technically jittery, but it works really well.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Thank you, writer. I don't know the saying.
I know you don't. That was specifically for
For the
Springs to
audience.
chew on.
No, I know.
So, and yeah, I mean, you're right. It's hard to ignore the Thor Dutch angle thing now that it's been pointed out. But it's, I'm here and there from time from camera reels. So sometimes I'm good. Sometimes I just don't. Just goes right over my head.
Gotcha. Yep, I just sit on that it was a bad shot.
Right. Gonna ask you guys a question that I don't know the answer to, and
Oh
that
boy.
I may
is
or may not have
the,
an answer.
I guess, symbology of the zigzag that's on the company logo, which is then the path to the factory, which is also the path they take up the volcano at the end.
Which is also
What
the
is that
lightning that
lightning
representing?
sinks the
bolt.
ship in two. Yeah.
So, what is it all representing here?
The change of person, being one to then sideways change to be someone else, to then maybe go back halfway, maybe you went too far in a new change, and you want a bit of your old self, but you change for a reason. It's the back and forth.
Okay, Ryder, what do you think?
Um, I understand the symbolism is there. After finishing the film, I honestly didn't know what to make of it, or at least if not symbolism, the repeated imagery is there. Best I can guess, just from my only watch of the film, is that it was like to symbolize the path the character is going on. So, the character path diverges today because he's walking into work, and yes, it's there every day, but we see it on the day where his path is finally diverging from work. And then we see it again where the boat sinks, and see it again at the volcano where he's committing to jumping in. So I think that kind of works with Sprinks' explanation as well. Seems to be what they're implicitly connected to.
Okay, because my thought going into it at the end, seeing it on the kingdom, like, okay, is this some sort of like destiny thing? But it's not really a topic they tackle in this. I mean, the closest they have is tackling with one's own identity, I guess, self worth, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to destiny. So, I guess the whole pathway thing could be what they're trying to convey.
So Crimson yourself, you just picked it up as a pattern seen throughout the film, but you're not sure what to equate it to.
Yes, I know it's there. I know it's got intention. I don't feel like they delivered it what it's supposed to be there for.
Do you think it's like the fact about the hat changing on Joe? Like these are like the choices he's on? The
Well, and
factory being one, and then the end of the boat, and then to the volcano.
I know you probably don't have an answer to my question, but do you know the source of that? Was that like a director or writer that said that or something?
I do not know, but I do know that the director and writer are one and the same person.
Okay. Uh, so that fact to me only really has credence if it's from someone that made the film, not somebody assuming that when right putting that down in facts. Don't know where you found them all, but so that one I'm a little more iffy on if that's a confirmed fact or a theory.
Well, I can
But
inform you, I
yeah,
did not watch an interview and or behind the scenes on the film.
I figured. But I guess with the comparison, if we were to treat the hacked fact as fact by somebody who made the film, then yeah, I would label it about the same because I don't think the hat thing is very clear. I didn't step away from the film being like, oh yeah, those are stages of his progression. But that could just be being dense. I don't know.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I guess we don't exactly have an answer to that question.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one to nail down.
How do you two feel about the opening line of the movie just being repeated dialogue?
Well, which one was the opening line? Was it the
Uh,
I'm
the
not
I assume you
arguing?
don't. I
story,
assume you don't
yeah,
mean the
on the phone.
text scroll. Yeah.
No. Just Mr. Wattori on the phone.
I found it quite amusing, especially that the very next day of work, it's still him doing the same thing.
It's still the same day of work, actually. He only left to get a doctor's appointment that
Oh,
day.
lunch break. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. 3 hour lunch break. Funny though. I liked it.
I didn't find it. I didn't find it funny. I recognize that it's comedy and it's conveying the dreary state of what it's like to work in this place. Plus the environment's also doing that, so everything's kind of working in tandem to just make feel like the walls are closing in around Joe. And I feel like this is just another facet of that. So I don't find it funny, but I am fine with the purpose of it.
I think I'm leaning more on the side of writer, where I can see the humor, but I don't find it funny because it's the same thing being said over and over again. And to me, that came across as weak writing.
The repetition is what makes it funny, at least to me. If it only happened like 2 or 3 times, I don't think it would be that funny.
I think it can continually happen, but change up the dialogue.
They're saying the
Once
same
again,
thing
the
differently multiple
repetition of the
times.
same lines is what makes
It's
it
just
funny.
saying the same lines.
Well, that's going to be the difference between your comedy and mine, I guess, because I
Yeah.
think the repetition of the exact same line over and over again, him repeating the same cycle every day, all day, is what makes it funny.
Okay, I guess I can being this here on this. I find the bad writing in this movie not funny at all.
Guess we'll discover what is considered bad writing or not throughout our coverage here. Because I don't think this joke was poorly written.
Let's go to writer.
All right, I'll do something else that kind of dropped me in is the another reason why I kept thinking it was a dystopian world is we have all the reference to, this business they work on the rectal probe with satisfied customers. We have like the once you get into the room on his boss's desk, you have the artificial testicles prototype. So for me, these are all stuff that kind of leading me to think this was going to be a little bit more on the dystopian side of a of a world. Um, Not really a bad thing, just pointing it out because I don't I don't mean that it's inconsistent necessarily later on, but it's just the jump was jarring pacing wise for me.
It does kind of feel like 3 movies all in one.
I would say it feels more like 3 worlds pushed together. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I'm leaning 2. I feel like the whole factory thing and then the rest of the movie for me. Because I agree, the factory felt like a dystopian future where the world's like falling apart and no one cares anymore. And then the rest of the movie is kind of like what we said. It's kind of a normal city, the normal limo driver. It's just outside the factory. Kind of seems relatively normal.
Yeah, the only exception is probably the hospital. But other than that, I would say yeah. I think
But
everything
I wouldn't say
outside
the
of the factory.
hospital felt too dystopian either. That's just the doctors, and they're all dystopian.
That's funny. Maybe okay.
Yeah, I still think I still have a feeling like 3 movies, with the whole New York dystopian, the whole LA, and then the boat to the island.
Yeah, who knew? Castaway had a prequel.
I did crack a joke about that in my notes. Well,
It was interesting.
we know how he got the job.
Yes, a little work. At 11:15 in the film, I noted, and it might be the only time I think I noted this down, of an okay transition, which is when Joe puts his hands over his eyes in the work, and then he's at his appointment.
Yeah, it was okay. There's not a lot of transitions in this. It's just cuts, for the most part. I mean, you got I guess, transition from the intro title to the film of the circle zoom thing. I forgot what that's called. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot.
Yeah. Right. Just a lot of cuts. All right,
Speaking of
Crimson.
the title sequence or blurb, whatever you want to call it, it's not quite Theodore Rex level of useless, but it's pretty dang useless because
It
it's
is.
just describing what they show at the beginning of he's
Yeah.
got a terrible job.
It
I
adds
think
a.
it's just
You
for a
can tell.
bookend.
It could be just for bookend. I've said this many times, probably on the podcast too by now. Text crawls are your one time where you can speak. The writers can speak directly to their audience. I genuinely think that the point of it is just to try and give it a more fairy tale feeling, considering that it starts as once upon a time there was a man named Joe and he has a terrible job. Something to that effect. So
Yeah, I mean they could open with that, but instead of just saying he has a lousy job, which we can see, it could be that he's I don't know, I'm trying to tie it to his previous like fireman job where he actually had pride in himself and courage and all this stuff.
yeah, I would
Most things I
say
come up with would come up anyways.
yeah. I would say that I would agree the titles crawl more or less, or the title images are fairly not needed. I do think it's there to build an expectation, which I think it achieves at the most base minimal level. So I'm not gonna knock it for any objective issues, but I do think uh, it's weak sauce as it is. I feel like something more a little bit more relevant would be to give a little bit more history on the fireman job, considering that's actually relevant to Joe's character.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm leaning. What do you think, Springs, about the I guess opening card other than just it's a bookend?
Not much else. That's all I can really think of because it's explaining what we immediately go into. Like even Theodore Rex explains everything, and then we get the whole like dream sequence, and then more of the world before getting to a chunk of the movie where it's like, okay, it's all been answered. This goes immediately into answering it. So I don't
Yes.
know if that's a joke in itself, but it does feel like just the purpose of a bookend. So it can just be here at the beginning, so they can get the happily ever after the end at the end.
That is how I'm feeling with it as well.
I feel that the only other addition I would add on to them, I guess what I get from it is that it's designed to make the audience think of lousy jobs in our world, so it builds up an expectation within the audience in a very small way before playing into like, oh, this is a really terrible job. So I do think it does achieve that, but that's, it was on screen writing directly provided to me, so I guess I was looking into it.
Did give me a little bit of Wall-E-esque with the dystopian thing
Yeah.
of the flower.
Yeah, I can
Also,
see that.
slight little nick to that flower situation I have here is that the flower in the morning gets stepped on and all the shadows are facing kind of the factory. Yet when Joe comes back to fix up the flower, it's been after the 3-hour break, so his shadow should be differently set. And it's not. So it's shot in the same instance.
Boom. It's a 1 out of 10 now. Thank you, Springs. Really cleared it out.
Oh.
No,
There's a couple things I noticed where
it's a good catch.
they shot a lot in one shot and then interspliced things in between.
What's another one with that?
Another one is in the apartment when Joe is talking to Dee Dee and he's taking off his jacket. The whole taking off the jacket shot is one shot of him delivering all his lines, and intercutting with him saying like, "Oh, it's fine, I'm dying," is separately shot interspliced, which is at I actually wrote this down 2831.
Okay. Yeah, I think I picked that one up as well.
Well,
Which,
on terms, sorry, I guess you first, Crimson.
yeah, I mean, this has come up in other films. The splicing one scene with to put something in the middle of it. But I don't think we've really broken it down to an objective level. Is that objectively bad or just a observation like shortcut they did?
Oh, I think it's objectively bad if it's able to be picked up because it's supposed to be seamless conversation or scene for a cut over continued dialogue. And if it's coming across choppy, then that's bad on the editing.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that up, get it defined.
If someone's running through a house and they cut the shot 4 times, that's fine. Nothing's connecting other than, I guess, the movement of whoever's running. But if someone's having a conversation and in their 3 sentences, the chop between each sentence is like a flow pace in their speech pattern, then that is poorly edited.
Okay, so it is fluid. Sometimes it can be bad, sometimes it can be good. It just depends on how well they spliced it.
Yes.
Okay. And writer, you're gonna jump on or add something.
Yes, to another like mistake slash continuity error. When Tom Hanks is playing golf on the raft and the golf thing gets blown away, Meg Ryan puts up her hand to shield herself.
Oh man, I missed that.
Oh, when she's supposed to be knocked out?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
blatant.
that's
It was
funny.
pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Darn it.
You
But
know
on
what's
the
bad?
topic of
You know
that,
what's bad if I pick it up.
how is he getting the stuff out of the trunks? The way that they're
That's
tied
humor.
down, he can't open them.
Yeah, that's a humor joke to it. And I just it goes into the absurdist humor.
Yeah, I have a nitpick on that because it's plot armor, but it's humor, I guess.
Well, you can go plot armor that is luggage expanded. You got huge. Those trunks were not
Yeah,
that
it is
size for the
pretty big.
raft that they were on the cars.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yes, I think they're the right size when he's buying them, like with the laundry, the luggage guy. But
I don't think so. He's standing taller than the luggage, and yet one of them, Meg Ryan, can have her whole body on.
well, he is taller than Meg Ryan. But I think
The
they are
financial extra
appropriate.
feet.
Yeah, I think they're appropriately sized for that scene, but not for the car scene. Either way, there's an inconsistency. So,
I will give him credit for the luggage guys specifying that they're waterproof.
yeah, that was
Because of
definitely
course they
set
are.
up.
Yeah, so they covered their bases, even though not natural in conversation, I'd say to be your luggage is waterproof, but
No.
it can happen.
I'll say the zaniness of Joe just breaking down into dancing. That was some dance moves.
I don't know if you'll like it or not, Sprinks, but I did feel like that would kind of be you in this situation where you would just crack and start dancing.
No offense, I can see that.
All right, good.
If
Then
my
I know,
only
yeah.
entertainment around is a radio with music and I'm in open water with nothing, yeah, maybe I'll crack and start dancing.
It's a funny image you put in my head. All right.
For me to go back to something that another bad instance of something in this film, the doctor's appointment where the whole brain fog is explained. The wide shots to show Joe in the room in the doctor's office with the doctor's audio is bad. It's like picked up from a separate mic that I think is more focused on Joe for when Tom Hanks speaks than the doctor. Yet when it's close up and just the doctor in shot, the audio is okay.
Yeah, I did pick up on that. But,
It's kind of like they only had one boom mic available or something.
well, yeah, and it does kind of feel like that. Instead of the mic being centered between the two in that shot that you're referencing, it is closer to Tom Hanks, so the doctor sounds further away than he should. Well, slash quieter.
Yeah.
But
Let's go to writer. Oh, never mind. Unless Crimson's got something.
Nah, it was going to be a segue. Go ahead.
Alrighty, I'll jump to uh Joe interacting with his boss. You really get the distinct impressions that again, it's just all to make a very shitty situation. This is one of the few jokes that did land for me. I didn't laugh, but I might have smirked a little bit. Which is
During the
the,
coffee expression.
no, yeah, when he's no, this is before then. This is when he's coming in. He's like, "Well, did you warn me last week?" Even though he
Oh,
got
that?
like 3 warnings. It's such a, it's an absurd character moment in a way that I think was fitting for the boss because it tells you everything you need to know about the boss's character. Same with Dee Dee as well, because Dee Dee kind of tattletaled on Joe, and then immediately after the boss is yelling at him, he's like, "Why do you let him talk to you like that?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Why? It's your fault." I it was for me, I guess the comedy landed a little bit more in that scene, though I obviously do appreciate the crash out that Joe has when he quits.
I found
Uh,
that scene you're describing to be infuriating.
Well, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
well, I'll elaborate. Like the film's intended way to get you infuriated, or some other thing.
Oh no, I think it's intended. Where Joe
Okay.
tells him, "I did tell you, and then I told you again." And the boss's answer is, "Oh, I'm sorry, you did retell." No, it's just like, "Well, did you tell me a third time where it was the soonest?" Joe's like, "No, I already told you twice." And he goes, "Well, then that's your problem. It's like, get those catalogs done, order more, watch it. Don't tell me what to like." I'm like, this is going nowhere. Joe can't do anything.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's the sad comedy of it is it's so real life.
yeah,
I I have had bosses in the same organization that have done very similar things that this boss does, and it's fun to laugh at, but it's also very sad to laugh at because it's reality.
And then I think Dee Dee's follow up was poorly written. Seemed very weak.
yeah. For me, that was a kind of a weird juxtaposition for her character. I didn't quite get why she, even though she reported him, she immediately came back and asked why, he wasn't standing up for himself. I could use definitely some more with that. I don't know if that's a character inconsistency, but it definitely leaned that way for me.
I don't
Um,
know. Dee Dee is a weird one. I feel like she's not needed all that much past the job. Like going out to dinner and stuff felt kind of meaningless to me through, across the whole movie. By the end, I'm like, what's the point of that? And the fact that Meg Ryan's playing all three of these women and he makes reference to, I feel like I've seen you before when I first saw you. I
yeah,
feel like they're drawing parallels between these three ladies, but I don't know what they're trying to do with it.
Oh, I think they are. I think all three are to be parallel to one another in the differences
Yeah, but why?
to
That's what
show
I'm stuck on.
the change in not only Joe, but the change in who Joe's around to find someone who wants to give him the purpose to stay around. Because I think it's a theme played throughout the whole movie of like, find someone or like care for those you care for kind of thing. And Marshall, the limo driver, puts it, it's like, oh yeah, I can't have dinner with you. I got a family and kids. And then it goes into kind of the montage of Joe being by himself. So I think with Dee Dee, Angelica, and Patricia, they all kind of show like the counter half to someone that Joe could have or like be with and like a reason to stay. But Dee Dee is the very much stuck in the corporate life that Joe was a part of and is excited about the difference in life as variety is the spice of life, but is too scared to go into that. And then Angelica is too different, too wild and out there, too artsy fartsy kind of thing to Joe. And Joe doesn't want to go that far into it. But the middle ground between the two is Patricia, and that's the one he, falls in love with and marries. And I think maybe that could aid into the zigzagness that you've seen picked up, where he does change, but he's gone too far, so then he goes kind of in the middle ground.
Do you agree with that, writer? You got your own view on it?
no, I mean that's pretty close to the only thing I could really pull out from the movie of them trying to draw parallels between all the ladies. Before we get too far off topic, I just want to say I agree with Crimson that I've also had those bosses. There's a limit to what you can do, and you just have to deal with it because it sucks. Sometimes people just like to lord power over you. It's fucking awful having a real job. Um,
Yeah,
that's
sometimes
kind
they
of
don't
what
want
this
to take
scene.
the blame onto themselves.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. People don't like to take ownership for mistakes or problems that they might have caused, and that's why that happens. And so it was a very, very real scene in a ha ha, oh, I'm in pain kind of way. And to get back to what you guys were saying, which was the the parallels between the three girls. I don't really think I have anything different to add because that's pretty much the basic interpretation of what I could pull from the film. I think he goes to the two extremes and finds the middle ground. Um, I think if they wanted to cement that a little bit more, probably should have. Dee just has the one glaring inconsistency for me that I think kind of nudges to her character a little bit.
I think it's a little foreshadowing, tongue-in-cheek situation that I don't think is too hard to pick up at all. But when they come out of the restaurant of Dee Dee and Joe, they are heading back to like Joe's place. But outside the restaurant is a big poster board that says "Fire in Paradise" with a volcano, which I think is hinting to like Joe versus volcano and all. But then there's just like a single sailor standing by a lamppost.
Yeah, I wrote that down as well. And I
I couldn't
thought,
tell if that's absurdist humor or that's just one big like foreshadowing.
I'm leaning it's more foreshadow than comedy. Um, but I guess it's interpretive for it. But I did think it was going to be more relevant, but it didn't really come into play later or anything, other than just the events of him going to the island, of course.
Yeah. Also, Crimson. Not sure if you. I don't know if Ryder picked it up either. I don't. I'm leaning no, but it did make me question the shot of Joe's apartment between like two very tall buildings and his kind of 1-2 story building. Is that the same set as Stuart Little or Mr. McGorniam?
I
Huh.
definitely wouldn't have picked that up, so I'm out of this one.
I'm leaning no on Stuart Little, but Mr. McGorham, which is funny.
Well, it's funny you
How's
say no because they're both the same building. The Stuart Little
oh
building and Mr. McGormiam building are the same set.
then maybe I don't know why I picture the Stuart Little one as being different. Um, I don't know. It's certainly possible. Did you find anything? I think you didn't find
I
anything on
did.
your
I
side.
did not look up if it is that, but just like that one shot look made me think, oh, is it that?
Well, do you know where most of this movie was filmed?
I do not.
No. Okay. Because if
I would
you
take. I
could
would
line up
guess a stage
locations.
because I think every ocean
Okay.
shot is fake.
Well, I guess what do you mean by fake ocean?
Like it's a
Like it's in a
stage.
wave pool or something?
Yeah, it's a universal
Okay.
lot
Okay.
stage or
Then
something.
yeah, I agree
They
with
didn't
that.
go out
Yeah.
actually to the ocean to film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most films will prefer to film on stage. You'd be really hard to find a film that doesn't to do that.
True, but even at the end when Joe and Patricia are in the water and after being blown out of the volcano, I feel like Tom Hanks is standing.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty steady raft. It doesn't move all that much.
No, not
And
on the raft when they're in the water.
When
oh, when they
when they're
fell off from the
paddling after,
volcano.
yeah.
I I felt that with Meg Ryan. It looked like she was just kind of standing in the pool as
Yeah,
well.
like the waves were just moving to show like the movement in the water, but they're not really like waiting. Like their heads aren't bobbing kind of thing.
No, I agree. I felt that there as
Yeah,
well.
I can see with that.
There was one moment. I wish I wrote a timestamp for it, but I didn't. While they're in the ocean in the raft, and you get like a overhead-ish shot of them, and you can just see like these artificial waves coming from the bottom left corner of the screen, like from a very specific angle, not natural to what you'd
Yeah,
see in the
clearly the
ocean.
machine. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I wish I wrote that one down, but there's a very clear fake wave happening there.
Oh, I didn't catch that, but I fully believe you. Do you think
But the
that
waves I did like were during the typhoon. I think the typhoon looked pretty good, all things considered. The lightning didn't
oh,
look amazing.
the model,
But
no, the actual hit on the boat, no, but the model, like Tweedledee boat, I think was fine in the water. Um,
Mhm.
do you think the I don't think low budget's the right word to go with, but the poor final products that they have for like the water and the sound and the lighting, they're like how much do you think can weigh into a purposeful attempt into the quote unquote charm of the film?
I think a lot of it does fall into the charm. I don't think a lot of it was unintentionally poor, I guess. And this is subjective reading into it. I mean, it is hard to quantify the intentions of what they intentionally made poor and
Yeah,
what is not intentionally poor.
because it's
But my
that's why I
reading,
feel very
a lot of it's
often
intentional.
hard. Okay, because Ron, on the other hand, I feel like that's all purposeful when they do poor things.
Very much so, yes. I'd say for wrong. And I feel for most of this, it's also intentional. I'm actually trying to think of ones that stand out as unintentional. Because I even feel like the moon, because that looks cartoony and a little
Yeah,
dumb
yeah,
with
it's
how
definitely
big it
not
is and
real.
stuff. So that one's I think is the closest on the line of is it meant to look that way or not?
What about the hammerhead shark?
Well, that's intentional. They could have made that way better or frame. They could have filmed it from behind the shark so it didn't have the cartoony eyes. They could have made that more serious if they wanted that, but I don't think that's what they were going for. I think they wanted the goofiness. So
Okay.
I guess that's my answer on it. Are you leaning most of it is intentional goofy or no?
I it's very hard for me to tell. I'm kind of leaning it's not intentional goofy because the humor seems to be more written in the characters than the creative process of the film. Like the part where he goes, "Yeah, I have no whiskey," and then what the hell is his name? Grainamere is like, "Oh, this," and Joe goes, "Yeah, I have whiskey." I feel like that's the written joke of it, and not just like the shots of back and forth.
Did you recognize him, the dad?
Yes, he's in Airplane.
Yeah, that's what I know him from. And then the random Crimson actor recognition is the limo driver. Was it
Oh,
Wilson?
Marshall?
Marshall Wilson. Marshall. I recognize him from the Trans Siberian Orchestra music video movie.
That's
That's
weird.
so niche
That's
and
bold.
very you.
Yeah, that's very Crimson. I was blown
Yeah,
away that Nathan Lane was in this movie.
I need more than a name.
The Waponi, like
Chief?
right
The
hand
tribe
man,
leader, chief.
not the
Okay.
chief, the other guy.
Hmm. Okay. The one that spotted him. No, that was someone else.
So you would
I
know
guess
him from
I don't know.
Birdcage.
Oh well, I didn't like Birdcage.
So you blotted
He
out.
plays the voice of Timon. What else is Nathan Lane in? He's in a ton of
Okay,
stuff.
I think I know who you're talking about. Lots of makeup though, being part of the
Yeah,
tribes people.
but I was just like, wow, he's in this movie. Also, for a movie called Joe vs. Volcano, crazy that the volcano was shown in the last 20 minutes.
I
That
was at
surprised me.
the hour part, and I'm like, what's going on here?
I did write that down. I'm like, where's the volcano? Is
Yeah,
that the whole joke? Is there no volcano? Like,
Well, I
I
was
don't know what to
starting to
make of
think
that
half.
honestly.
I was thinking halfway through, like, are the women the volcano? Like they just explode on him? Like is volcano a metaphor, no literal one? Obviously, that's not the case by the end, but that is what my brain was going through. The more the film went without going to the island.
yeah.
This might be a rare instance where I think that this film could use a better title, but I have no idea what I would call it in the absence of what it's named.
I'm
Joe's,
okay with
Vol-
the name of the movie.
Joe's Volcanic Life.
I don't think that's as catchy.
No, it's not.
But also Joe versus Volcano. It's not like he's going against the volcano. He's actually willing. He's a willing participant
Actually,
of the volcano.
Crimson
If
Joe
you-
gives me a little bit of like Michigan Monster.
How do
Like
you
that's what it's called, but you don't see the monster until like the end of the movie.
Yeah. But at least it is there, so can't really knock it too much. It's not a false title.
Well, does he actually like verse it?
Well, I mean, what
confronts
does that
it.
even mean?
Like he doesn't really fight it, or
Well, he lost to it. He didn't die.
I suppose. I guess in that, well, he kind of won because the volcano died.
Well, he won because he lived, but he lost because he wanted to die to it. Like at the time, his goal was to die, so he kind of lost because he didn't succeed. But I did
Yeah.
like the twist that he was never sick, and it was just an evil rich guy. I did like that. I wasn't expecting that to be plopped in there.
Yeah, they managed to sneak that in there pretty well too. Like I'm not actually, it doesn't feel like it comes completely out of nowhere.
True. It's a nice, I guess, explanation to the brain fog and all that, but it doesn't really go into why.
I mean, the only thing I
why
got
would
is
be
that
he's depressed and he's got nothing going on. My question is how he found Joe.
well,
Well,
the
we
doctor
know
works for
Graynamore
him.
just knew where he lived, so he's like
Well,
stalking him.
Well, the doctor works for
But the
the
doctor's
billionaire.
exclusively
Graynamore?
the doctor's exclusively for him, which means he had to tell the doctor to get Joe.
Yeah.
So he had to have known Joe before the doctor appointments. And that's where I'm like, why does he know him? If the 3 kids that were saved were the 3 girls, that would be something. Ages wouldn't line up, so that's not relevant.
To line up with all, the fire department
yeah.
story.
So if the firefighter story connected to him in some way, that way Joe's on his radar, that would make sense. But we don't get any connection other than he knows he was a firefighter. So I do find issue in how he found Joe.
Okay, I'm willing to write that down as a Nick.
I will also have it as a Nick, because it does change. It's the whole kind of continuing plot of the movie.
Yeah, kind of relies on it.
Kind of relevant.
I don't bump it to an issue because the movie still happens, and I wouldn't say it's a needed detail, but it is certainly a wanted detail to explain the twist that changes the whole, like, why Joe is here now.
It would definitely smooth out the ending, I think.
Yes. Writer, I'm curious, and Crimson, you can pitch in too, but writer for being a writer, how do you care for the, oh boy, I'm going to butcher the word again, exposition? That's not it.
No, you got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is
that's the right word.
exposition.
I think so. Yes.
Yes, the expedition dump of
Position.
Graynamore. Thank you. Explaining it all to Joe on the situation. The jumping volcano, so he can make a superconductors with Boobaloo from the Waponis.
Okay, hold on. The exposition from, sorry, which exposition dump again? Because there's a couple that happened.
From Graynamore, telling Joe what the rest of the movie's goal is.
So this is from the rich billionaire, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I keep saying more. It's mayor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think I gave it. The actor is what saves the dialogue for me, because it's obviously a bunch of pseudo science stuff to get conductors going and stuff like that. I think it works. It adds to kind of the nonsense of the world, but in terms of exposition dumping, my issues more with it is more like Joe is a very passive character in the scene. So it's not the exposition dialogue itself that I have issue with, because I think the actor does a good job conveying it, because you can feel the passion almost from the actor. Like, so it's believable enough coming from him. I kind of wanted Joe to bounce off of that enthusiasm a little bit more. Now he doesn't need to get as passionate as the billionaire is, but I do think there's more to be drawn out
Something
of the
more
scene.
than just like, do you want to be treated like a king? He goes, okay.
Yeah, that's where I draw more of my issues with the scene than I do necessarily with specifically the exposition, because I think it works. I do think it sets everything up fine. I'm at this point in the movie, I was still reeling from like I don't know what genre this movie's trying to be, but
That's a comedy romance. It's a
so
rom-com.
so I think I'm gonna label it. If I were to label it, I would probably say it's probably average exposition dump. I would say it works positively with the comedy, but definitely the actor saves the exposition specifically. I think he does a good job conveying it.
Interesting. Okay, so the acting approach weighs in on how you see exposition being shown.
Well, actors can always
The
influence
way
the writing.
the characters portray the lines is
Yeah.
relevant on how a line can be played.
That's true. Line delivery, yeah.
I guess my point on it is I totally think it's all fine. The way that the rich guy was talking, it was relevant information. It's he's trying to convince somebody to kill themselves, so giving them the relevant information makes sense. And Joe is very uncaring and matter of fact about everything, I feel. So him just being, okay, this is a luxury luggage. I'll take 4. I mean, he's very just matter of fact. So I think his quick, simple response is appropriate for his character.
Okay.
And you, Sprints?
I'm sorry, I find it kind of bad. I think it's mostly because of the tone shift, which goes into the feeling of 3 different movies. From all the work in the dystopian and Joe going on this date and crash out of like all that feel, to then being visited by a wild, rich old man, to then change the course of like, oh, this is where the story's going to go now, and here's just a bunch of like hullabaloo rubbish to tell you about all this stuff, and Joe just being like, okay, like no care, like he thinks he's gonna die. This came at the perfect time for convenience. This sets up the rest of the movie. This, like, it just feels so chunk, or like I guess like a big tone shift to the pacing. And I do agree with you, Raider, like the acting is fine. Like, both, it's good acting on what he's conveying for the actor to grant more to show to Tom Hanks. Unfortunately, I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head, but just the lines just seems like a bunch of, I guess, humor in like how wild it all sounds. Of like, oh yeah, you need to go appease a fire god in a volcano so I can
Yeah.
get this material that's rare on the and complete planet Earth that's made up so I can make superconductors. But these people love orange soda, and like all of this just like wild stuff, but it's placed all in one scene. I would have greatly preferred if throughout the factory we see like the vending machines out of orange soda, or there's a sign that says like superconductors are failing, like some kind of news article in a paper or something, or like something more to structure to the conversation that takes place, so it flows better, overarching, rather than slotted as like this is the second chapter of the movie.
With that bit, I will agree that this is definitely a tonal shift. It feels very much we went from dead end job right into like an adventure film, because this is that old man coming to rouse somebody to go on an adventure in an adventure movie. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Willy Wonka does not have Charlie Bucket being like, "Oh, I didn't get a golden ticket to Willy Wonka, whose factory is a block down the road," busting into the Bucket's home and being like, "Charlie, you come with me."
I think
So I don't. it's a weird one because the first thing that comes to mind with me is like Narnia, right? Yeah, the whole opening where you got war and then the kids get dropped off and adopted with this new house, and then boom, magic world in a wardrobe. What a shift! I don't think that's bad.
I don't think that's bad either. That is a tone shift, but I think there's a little more setup to that in the pacing of the film for Narnia.
How is a magic wardrobe set up?
I think the severity of war to then die down of like, okay, calm house, and then the don't do this in the house, like stay away from the secret room, don't disturb the professor, like all these rules, and then the kids are kind of like breaking the rules, being fun, and the music playing of Run Rabbit, and they're going into places where they shouldn't, where then Lucy discovers the wardrobes, this like secret that's been kept in this room. I think the tone overall of like the harshness to the light banter to the whimsy flows smoother into like, oh, now we're in a whole new dimension with snow and fawns and white witches and all that. Where for this feels like dystopian, love life that failed, you're gonna die, hey, let's go on a grand adventure. I guess this feels backwards to the Narnia. Like if Narnia was a bunch of like kids having fun, and then it's like, oh, you're drafted for war. They go to war, and they get like blown up by a grenade that blasts them into a trench, and the trench sends them to Narnia. It's like, okay, that feels like a tone shift.
Kind of funny. I kind of want to see that. Maybe an AI version of that.
No,
Oh, you said the thing.
no. My stance on that is no.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I'm,
know.
I'm not going to grace that with a response. I do have a follow-up question for you, Springs. You said the dialogue in the exposition was too wacky. Is that how you described it?
It
Something
is
so.
very wacky.
Okay, so it's not okay. So this might get nitty-gritty to your perception of art. So I apologize. So is it the literal dialogue itself that bothers you, or is it how the dialogue is used to clash with the tone that you're going with?
It's this is the story of what's going to occur now, opposed to the first half hour we've had.
Okay.
Like the words being used, totally fine. Boobaloo and Waponies, not a problem with that. I think that goes into like the humor of just like these funny sounding words.
Yeah, it
But
goes with the Charlie and
just
Chocolate Factory kind of humor. Just, yeah, he found
yes,
this, went to a really wild place to find it. Okay, okay.
yeah, Schnozberry, Gobstoppers, all that. But just like out of the blue, this guy comes to change Joe's whole life. That is just like, and the whole exposition dump of that is like, this is the reason why this is doing it, this, and you said like there was no bounce back of Joe. Just like, okay, I'm gonna die anyway. Might as well do this, which is great and more really pitching it high of like, why not live as a king before you die as a man and stuff like that. It just feels very like this is the story where the movie's going now versus a gradual go of Joe becoming
Convinced?
where he's going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that makes a little more sense to me then. All right.
It's like the Fellowship of the Ring, to go to Lord of the Rings for you. The coming up with the Fellowship, like who's going to take the ring? If
It's
during that where Frodo's already there, no one has to say a word, and Frodo goes, "I'm going," takes the ring and walks off.
it's funny that you went to Fellowship.
Like,
I actually went to The Hobbit, where all the dwarves are just slowly coming to Bilbo's house, and he's
oh
slowly
yeah,
kind of convinced over to go because he's just like, why is everyone here? And a lot of that is he gets the for me. A lot of the strength of that is he gets to bounce off of those characters, so we get more reaction out of it. But you also get to see the slow, gradual, him being
yes.
convinced as well.
And even Bilbo saying no and deciding about it in the morning. Like there's
Yeah.
still build up to all that, rather than Thorin coming to be like, "Hey, we want to get our home back from Misty Mountain from this big red dragon on the moonlit page of a map or whatever." And Bilbo goes, "Okay."
Yeah. I'm not saying it's
That's
out of
not what
yeah.
happens.
I'm in agreement with Crimson. It's not necessarily out of character for Joe to be like that, but for me that's just weak character writing in the sense of you could have done something with any character in this position. You did okay.
And I think that could be attempt to the humor.
Yeah.
Like Grant Moore is
I
this
mean, it definitely is, and
eccentric,
it,
wild
yeah,
character,
and
and
it
Joe
definitely,
bounces with just like, okay, dull.
yeah, it definitely is playing into the pacing of the humor for the scene. Okay, I think you cleared up my what I was asking for you, Springs. Okay, I understand a little bit more.
Okay. I guess on the realm of comedy and all that being, this is classified as a comedy. What is your guys' favorite joke in this movie?
It would be the repeated line from the boss. I'm not going to argue with you. Well, any of the talk with the boss on the phone, essentially, because there is more than just that one line.
Okay. So,
Okay,
Mr.
uh,
Vittori.
my
Yeah.
follow up question is most well written or my personal favorite?
Your personal favorite.
Okay,
Not objectively the best made joke, but what you found to be the best joke.
what I found to be the funniest.
Yes.
It might be the payoff of the ponies loving orange soda. It's kind of funny to see like an absurd. For me, it was funny to see an absurd, like indigenously dressed character holding a giant pint-sized orange soda.
And wearing it all
Yeah,
over.
it's definitely a nice visual gag. My mind is going between that one and just the dead humor from the third sister or the third character, where she's like, you're being miserable. It's the sun, gets me down. I think that deadpan humor also worked for me. That one definitely made me smirk.
Okay. So the reveals of things that you're like, oh, that's actually real. That
Well,
actually
yeah,
happened.
they're kind of payoffs a little bit, so
Okay.
they work for me on a subjective level and an objective one.
Okay. I think my favorite joke in this movie is when Marshall stops the car and tells Joe, I can't go anywhere without knowing like what you want to be dressed as or where you want to go. He says, let me get in the back. And it cuts to Marshall getting out of the car to get in the back to talk to Joe. And he has parked his car in a park. I
Yeah,
found that to
it's
be I'm like, okay, that is some good absurdist comedy.
So good, I didn't even pick up on it.
Yeah. Because he gets out, they're not on a road. They've been
yeah,
driving through a park.
yeah,
I
it's
suppose
it's
they
it's qu-
were.
it's quite funny, and also the fact that Marshall just happens to be really into clothes, so he's like, okay, I'm gonna sit with you. You need to consider yourself for this.
Yeah.
It works. It
I know
works
it
pretty well.
might not be hard to say, but I think Marshall's my favorite character in this movie.
I'm not too surprised. He's a pretty chill, cool dude who gets
Yeah.
a new suit.
Very helpful. And one of the most realistic characters in this movie.
Yeah, he's grounded.
All right, Crimson, why don't you jump to the next point?
All right. So, are we to believe, perhaps I'm misremembering, that they were stranded in the ocean for 2 weeks?
Ooh, where
I
did you get 2 weeks?
fucking hope not.
Because the whole timeline was he would go to LA, get on the boat, spend 2 weeks on the island, and then sacrifice himself. But by the time they get to the island, it's sacrifice day.
Ooh, it is that night.
How long was the boat trip supposed to be?
Well, he was supposed to be on the island for 2 weeks. That's not travel time. That's island time. So I don't know how long the travel was supposed to be, but the island was supposed to be 2 weeks.
Oh,
And when they
yeah,
get
they're
there, it's a
dead.
day of.
I'm gonna say plot armor. They should have died.
Ooh.
That's a good
We don't see
catch.
him. We don't see him fishing. The only thing we have is him drinking alcohol or whatever beverages he had. Um, and he wasn't even drinking. He was giving it to her. So, and that wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks. So that's kind of, I think, a big detail. I think passes the threshold of absurd comedy level.
Yeah,
This a problem.
what was the time frame again? It was, Grant Moore said it's every 100 years,
So
and
it's
it's
been
been
99 years,
99 years,
11
11 months,
months,
and 11
11
days.
days. Yeah.
Okay, so they have roughly 20 days from that point.
Okay. So about a
We
week
don't know what
on
actually.
the ocean.
Yeah, we don't know the actual date of time of the year it is, but I'm guessing since a month has 31 days to the max in it, that 31 would be the max.
Mhm.
So I would say they have 20 days from that
Uh,
point, and 2 weeks is
so
14 of that 20.
4 or 5 days of sailing, approximately, and then 2 weeks on the island for
And
the
the
second
time
one.
he took to fly from New York to LA, and his day with Marshall, so that's 1 day gone. So then you're down to 19 days. Cut out 14. You got 5 day time frame. The island was the night he got there. No time. There was no sleeping on the island. So if that all lines up to being exact to what they said, then from their departure of LA, 4 day trip before they were struck by lightning
Yeah, and then stranded on luggage for 2 weeks.
for 2 weeks.
And I say nay.
I also say nay, but I know a lot of people could listen to this and be like, wow, you guys really break that down. There was probably no one who's
They
ever
sh
talked about that. And it's
they
like,
shouldn't
Man,
have given us a timeline.
they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. You should go back
yeah,
to listen
I
to
would
what
look.
we did with Living with Yourself. That
Yeah,
was arguably the most math we've done, I think.
yeah. I gotta cite previous content because we've done that more than just Beyond Living with Yourself. We've done that several times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just the Living with Yourself one is the one that comes to mind for me because I feel like Crimson and I talked about that one for half an hour.
It feels that long, but I don't think it really was that long. But yeah, we do try to hold films to their timelines, and this one is no different.
Yep.
They did not stick with their timeline
And
in
if
a
you were to
believable
say,
fashion.
well, that's insane, you shouldn't do that to the film, that's just like, it's clearly not 2 weeks. And it's like, well, then they should have never said 2 weeks in the script.
Then they should just
Yep.
write better. I don't know what do
Yeah. They
you
should just
say.
say it's going to happen by the end of the month. Boom, you got the end of the month.
They could
So,
have shown him with a fishing rod fishing, and then be like, okay, food, check. Now they need to figure out, okay, maybe it rained. Now he's got buckets of water that he had. He opens one of the trunks and that catches water. Um, but they do none of that. So,
They show him dancing and
yeah.
playing golf, and then Megan Ryan waking
Yeah.
up when she's not supposed to be knocked out. But
So I'm listing because they would be dead and the end of the movie wouldn't happen. So I'm putting it as a problem.
ooh, a whole problem. That's the top of the top top.
Yeah, I mean, it changes the movie.
I agree, honestly.
I will put it as a flaw because of this movie's level of comedy.
I could see
Which
you
I know is a
doing
blanket
that.
excuse, but with how the comedy runs in this movie, it's I feel slightly valid. But a flaw is still pretty damn high on the damage ladder.
Yeah, almost the tippy top.
I'll jump to I think one of my potentially favorite transitions, which is it's it's not like a super impressive, but I think I just appreciate the aesthetic of it of going. I forgot the second girl's name. Sorry. Um,
Angelica.
Angelica. Going from Angelica's like painting on the wall with the car sitting in the overlooking the city and transitioning into that. I think that was pretty decent. I think I just like the
I would have
imagery of
one up
that.
that. I think that was better than decent. I think that was actually pretty good. It was pretty well lined up and smooth.
I liked it for sure. I don't think it's impressive, but I did like it.
Okay, yeah. Um, I am so happy that Joe got a haircut because I think that his hair from the beginning of the movie up to that is probably the worst hair I think I've seen Tom Hanks have in a movie.
That's why I wish he didn't cut it because now he just looks like big. I
Yeah,
mean,
now he just looks like him in late 80s.
and everything. So
Yeah,
It looks
I
like him
do
in
feel
'80.
like that kind of took away from the movie a little bit. That
but
um,
gosh, that was a terrible hairdo.
that was the point.
I think it fit Joe. It really did. I don't. I am sad we lost it, but I understand. Like they wanted to get Tom Hanks in his classic hairdo.
Yeah, take the wig off. Um, I guess another point for me to go to before we jump around. It might just be a me thing and how the camera structure is, but I don't see any real humor in it. When the luggage seller opens up like the grand case to be like, I have the perfect one for you, and it's like, the the fanciest luggage she
Oh yeah,
has
and
to
it
work.
sparkles, right?
And he opens the door, and then the camera shot is like the whole room from the ceiling to show off, and it makes the luggage look small and the seller and Tom Hanks look small in the room. And I was confused. Why is this shot the shot used for the big grand suitcase being shown off? Like, I don't understand the humor. Like, is it to make it look small in that moment so when they get blown up in the water, it's like, oh my gosh, it's even funnier because they're way bigger than what was shown beforehand? Or is it like, oh, it's just a suitcase, it shouldn't be that grand looking? Because I feel like for a shot to make a suitcase look like pristine, you want an upward shot so it looks huge. You want clear details on the lining of the suitcase so it's like, all the production into it looked very good. You want Tom Hanks's Joe's face like eyeballing it, and it's like wow, or the seller being like really into it, like touching it all over and like opening all the compartments, and like I feel like that's all to really build up a luggage case, which I think would have been a little better handed in the comedy if the luggage seller really sold it and Joe goes, okay, to better parallel that of Graina Moore pitching the whole plot of the rest of the movie. But for a shot up in the ceiling, I didn't understand that. Only thing I really could guess is that the luggage actually isn't that great, and that's just so it can not show as much like detail in the luggage if it has like scuffs or whatever they had for the production.
So the
Um,
only uh,
okay, go ahead, Ryder.
yeah, so the reason that they did the overhead shot is purely because we get the whole glinting glisten to make it look like it's shiny as the luggage is being pulled out,
Well,
like it's
true, but you
some
can get
grand
closer
treasure.
shots to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean that the reason they're doing that is just so it can have a more grand effect because it is, you're right, it is a distance, but we can see the glint kind of filling the kind of surrounding the whole of the luggage for a moment.
Yeah,
Yes.
I disagree with because you're going with like film class 101 of looking up for scale, down for minimizing. But I think this ceiling shot makes the whole luggage situation grand. It's a big, prestigious luggage place. You see display cases of different luggages. This is not your typical luggage. This is grand, luxurious. So that's what I take from it is it's
Yeah, but
just
that's
showing how
showing off.
grand and luxurious this is.
But
Not
that's
just
showing
one
off the
luggage,
place.
everything.
Yeah, that's showing off the store. It's not showing off the luggage.
The showing the store shows the product. When he went to get his suit, that didn't feel grand or expensive. That just looked like a suit. This felt like expensive luggage because it was an expensive room.
Oh, to me, it felt expensive because it was built up beforehand by the luggage seller. But the shot chosen to show off this said luggage seemed lackluster.
I disagree. I felt the luxury with the
To me, it felt
depiction
like,
of the place.
again, sorry, writer, it's just what comes to mind. It feels like in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie when the pirates get the treasure chest and they open it and it's like shining gold and the lights and all that. If that was shot from like the bird's nest of the pirate ship.
All right, I think that's different because the chest isn't what's being focused on, it's the tickets. And you don't
That's
even
in the
see the tickets
chest
when they open it.
and it's glowing and shiny.
The chest is the room in this scenario. The goods, you don't even see the goods in that shot. He pulls them out and movie to the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Ah!
I could say the chest isn't the room, it's the doors he opens.
I don't know. I think we're not going to agree on this one.
Probably not.
Sounds like it.
I didn't understand the use of the shot. Okay, let's go to writer.
All right. Let me see. Um, I will jump to the when you brought up exposition scenes earlier, Springs. The first one actually didn't that came to mind wasn't the billionaire one, but it was the one on the boat with the again don't know the girls' names. Sorry, the third one, the boat captain. Um, when she was kind of explaining to him the life story, where that conversation originally felt like it came to a natural end, but it continued. With her like telling her like who her sister is, how they live under their father's thumb, how her history. Um, so what I got from this exposition scene, I think it did the character stuff fine, but this was an exposition scene where I'm like, they needed to make Joe either more interactive or something a little bit more to go on because Megan Ryan is not conveying this with the enthusiasm the billionaire did. So again, I don't have any issue with the exposition itself. Outside of it felt less smooth in parts, but I think they needed to change the interaction with this particular exposition too.
Because it's the whole soul sick talk.
Yeah.
Just making sure I'm at the right part. Okay.
So would you prefer if Joe was intercutting like, well, with what I saw of him, he seemed like a nice guy. Something to add a little friction between her just saying her point of view of him,
I don't know if
Joe
she needs
saying
to.
his
I don't
point
know
of
if she
view of
needs.
him.
I don't know if she needs to do that, but I think he could bounce off of what she's saying a little bit more, because or ask questions to prompt further responses because she kind of awkwardly goes from one part of the exposition to the next, and what I think they need to do to smooth it over is have Joe ask a question. That would be a natural question to ask for him.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be. I just feel like it's these situations that Joe gets put in, which I guess is them sticking to his character, of these people talking to him a lot, like the meals. I picked it up kind of with the meal thing, like the meal he has with Patricia on the boat. Patricia's doing a lot of talking. The breakfast he has with Angelica. Angelica's doing a lot of. He does have a lot of talking with Dee Dee at the restaurant to begin with, but I just feel and then like Graynamore explaining what to do, and I guess Marshall talking to Joe in the car, not so much when they're actually on their shopping spree. It just feels like a lot of these are characters talking to Joe, and Joe gives like a 1 or 2 word response.
I think that's a byproduct of all these characters essentially getting a segment out of the film. Like Marshall doesn't come back, Dee Dee doesn't come back, the boss doesn't come back, um,
Angelica doesn't come back.
Angelica. So they have to make the most out of the little segments they're in, and that you're right, it sacrifices Joe because they need to make these character moments matter for these one-offs.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
the
very
I
weird because the
Even the luggage
perspective.
guy has a whole
Yeah,
spiel while
but it's
Joe's
really
not
weird because
listening to
Joe
him.
is the perspective of the whole movie. He's the protagonist,
Yeah.
and his
Uh,
intake and it's just interesting. Hmm.
yeah.
yeah, that's why I
That's
think
probably
they.
where I would put it.
That's
Is
why I think he
interesting.
needs
I
to
don't know if
like if he asked questions, I think it would go over a lot more smoothly, personally. But
Well, it build more into Joe's character. It really
yeah,
flattens Joe's character by not doing anything other than like shrugging shoulders and being okay, which is and then equal out to be who Joe's character is.
hmm
But
yeah, I think that's kind of what saves him a little bit is because he's this flat, bland guy.
that is what saves him. But what actually it
it
saves him
saves him
because he
and
does it
damns him at the same time.
consistently. But to me, it's breaking off of the confidence crash out that's already occurred. This is a new Joe, yet he's sticking to what he was.
kind of a new Joe. I mean, he's growing. I wouldn't say he just flips.
No, he does not just flip, which I guess could build into your lightning bolt thing again, or the zigzag.
Perhaps.
But it is interesting that the whole crash out confidence of like, I'm going to be this whole new thing, I'm going to my job, I'm doing all this, to then be in conversation with people where he goes, I don't know, okay,
I need clothes. What do you want? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because he doesn't know himself.
Yeah.
He's just been a worker. He's had no life.
There's a weird joke too when he's like, what clothes do you have? And he goes, the clothes I'm wearing. And Marshall goes, so you have no clothes. Like, is he not wearing a suit right now in the car? Like,
He has no outfit clothes, I
So are
guess.
you speaking literally strengths of yes, of course he's wearing clothes, or what are you going with here?
no, I'm just trying to think of like I just took it as like Marshall. Marshall already said like he very cares about clothes and clothes make a man, and he's been trying to make himself, which goes into a little break in Marshall's character because he goes, I'm trying to figure out who I am, and it's taking me this far. I don't want to deal with your problem, kind of thing to Joe, and then like immediately gets in the back car and he goes, okay, Joe, tell me who you are. So I thought that was a little break onto Marshall, but just talking about like, oh, what clothes you wearing? He goes, these, and he goes, so you have no. Just told me that Marshall saw the clothes that Joe is wearing is nothing, like they don't
Yes.
amount to who you are.
Yeah. It's a suit that's
Yeah,
gray in tone
it's
and
not
it's not
Ron
fitting.
where he goes like, what are the clothes I'm wearing? And then it cuts to Marshall who's wearing Joe's clothes, and he goes, you're wearing no clothes, and then it cuts back to Joe who's naked. It's like that. That's a Ron joke to do, and this movie didn't do that.
Yes, it did not do that.
But yes, the whole soul sickness thing that Ryder brought up, I really builds into Patricia's character, but nothing to bounce off of, other than I guess Joe to listen.
I guess I'll bring up the age-old question of the podcast, and that's how well they did the romance by the end of this with
Oh,
Patricia
I
specifically.
knew this was going to be brought up.
Yes. So I'll pitch it to Ryder, and then Sprinks, you can answer after him. So Ryder, you're up.
Oh boy. I think they do enough, like, so I don't find it like the worst thing in the world. At least with the last one, because he goes through the first two girls and you kind of see what he doesn't want. They do a decent job of making connect to this last one specifically. But that being said, we're on like thin ice here. I think my favorite one of my probably one of my other favorite jokes is the what you can't commit to me for 30 seconds. Um, I think that works, and it works in the humor with the humor. That's pretty much where I'm at with this romance at the end. I'm not really feeling the chemistry, I guess, if we're gonna add that on. Um, but it fits with the humor, and in terms of the actual writing, I'd say they have a foundation. They just don't build on it much.
Okay. Sprinks?
I think there is none. I think the romance is terrible. I feel nothing for Patricia or Joe like being a couple. I see that the kiss in the typhoon. I don't think that was built up enough to equate to that, other than that Joe is interacting with someone he's never interacted before, kind of like Patricia being different than Dee Dee and Angelica. That's kind of it. But I don't know what in Joe is attracted to Patricia being different, because it's still Meg Ryan in all of them, so it's definitely not physical. It's in something about the character, and the soul sickness conversation, I guess, got him feelings something. I don't think that was conveyed enough. I also think being the last 40 minutes of this movie, there's not enough given on screen of them building up a relationship with one another to get to feelings, other than like a kiss on the typhoon, which I don't think was earned, and then being on an island where they're only two who like know each other, and she just learns like, oh, he's gonna die, I want to be with him, and then fully throws her life with him, like, I love you, I want to get married, I'm going to die with you. Like that to me doesn't feel earned of her character. Joe really didn't care. He's just like, yeah, you don't want to marry me. Sure, now we're married. Whatever, goodbye. Like I felt no chemistry there. It felt rushed. It felt kind of jokey, which I feel like definitely more of the humor was placed on than the romance. I just think it was poorly done.
Okay, so I'm some sort of combination between the both of you. I didn't really feel the chemistry, which we talked about chemistry in. Was it
Something.
Burbs? It might have been Burbs. I don't remember. Something fairly recently.
I brought up with Carrie
No, it was
Fisher and
Burbs.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it was
Big
Burbs.
names, but they did not have chemistry.
Yeah. So, same here. I didn't really feel chemistry here. I felt more here than in Burbs, but that's not much. Enough for them to be married? No, I think that's part of the heightened reality and the comedy elements. I think it's really lacking in time together. The boat stuff I think is decent. The kiss I think is earned because of how fast this movie is. Because even with Angelica, he kisses her at the end. It's on the cheek, but it's a kiss nonetheless. Um, so it's fast. Um, the whole time they're on the boat, she's pretty much knocked out most of it. When they're on the island, they don't even really have any scenes together till they're on the volcano. When they're doing the whole bathing and cleaning and hazing and whatnot, they're separate. They're doing their own things. When it came to the ritual, she was there while he wasn't even there yet. He was late. And when he got there, he's like, all right, let's go to the volcano. They don't really interact. So it's just the boat and top of the volcano, really. And that's like 30 minutes in the middle there where their relationship's not really getting added too much. So I
Yeah,
think that's what kind of leads to it feeling empty.
yeah. On the subject of them needing to add more, they had plenty of opportunity. She just didn't need to be knocked out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For me, something more. Show me why Joe's attracted to Patricia. I think that would help me a lot. I don't see really what is so different from her, from Dee Dee and Angelica, other than she's not them.
She's grounded. That's the only reason I can see it, because we meet two very different absurd kinds of female characters before her, and she's just grounded and down to earth. I genuinely think that's the attraction for the movie's trying to play off. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I'm leaning towards I would like more, but
I want that to be answered.
Well, okay, so you said why Joe would like her. So do you think they did enough of her liking him?
More so, yes. With them having like dinner on the boat, her whole soul sick conversation with him, like telling him like she's nervous. I could definitely pick that up of like telling like all these details of like where the crew is, where I'm sleeping, where the lights are, all that, and talking about her dad and like opening herself up to him. I think that's definitely her trusting and being nervous and showing attraction to Joe. And then the whole fishing scene where like it's a whole group fun situation. I can see all that of like Patricia getting feelings for Joe. I don't see anything or an explanation of Joe feeling that way for Patricia, except during the typhoon he comes out, they lock eyes, which is essentially and kiss.
Well, he opens up to her about the dying stuff as well, so she's not the only one opening up. He's doing it too. So they're both opening up, but I do agree they need a harder line of what he sees in her.
Or make it a harder dichotomy with the other women.
Yeah, because he opened up to Dee Dee and Dee Dee ran away.
Yeah. So
they've also been working for years together, so there's some actual build up to that.
Yeah, so you need to show off more of the dichotomy of why ultimately those relationships didn't work, in order for this one to have more weight behind it as to why it, quote unquote, is working. Or you need to just, because you need to be more explicit as what he finds attractive in her. Because I can infer a couple things, but I feel like I'm reaching with my inferences.
To me, romance is two sides. You need both. You need both partners. Situation. For me, to hit belief needs to be a 7 out of 10. For these two characters, it feels like Patricia's at a 4 because it is showing some things, but it feels rushed, being the time of the film where it's being introduced of this love interest. And for Joe, it feels like a 1. It's not a 0 because he is listening to her and hanging out with her, but I have nothing else off of that to go into his feelings for Patricia.
I was going off of this scale. I'd probably put her at a 5 and him a 3.
I'm probably closer to Crimson on the scale. I think uh again, I can infer reasons. He could see her. This is what he wanted from the beginning. He wanted to be on an adventure, and he hasn't really been on an adventure until this point. Could be situational. Could be the fact that she's more grounded compared to the previous love interests. But again, that's just me inferring based off of the situation he's in comparatively to the others. And I still feel like I'm reaching with those. So I'm at a 3 for him. For her, I'm feeling a 4 or 5 because she's respects the fact that he didn't take advantage of her sister, and there's other little tiny facets that go into that. Um, but doesn't really, like I said, I don't think it's great. I think there's a foundation here. They just don't expand on it at all.
Okay. I think it's also between the two of them, which I guess goes into the humor a bit. I couldn't tell if it was Patricia's drink or Joe's drink, but when they're having their meal, before the scene cuts and ends, Patricia dips her finger in a drink and licks it off.
Okay,
I thought
and
that was
what are you going with
another
that?
humor thing, but it's just odd for like kind of like a more serious situation between the two characters to then have that as like a tone cut joke.
I think it's just more of a character quirk than anything.
I guess in that case, I would have liked to see it more than once.
Sure, I don't know where it would have come up, but
If
more
like
of a
during the
weird thing.
party she had a drink or like orange soda or something and was trying to do it then, or I don't know.
Alright.
Just seemed like another like thing. It's like, oh, serious point, so let's make a joke.
We all definitely recognize this was rushed, as far as
Certain elements.
Yeah.
I'll bring up the constellation. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's kind of dumb. It doesn't really deliver anything. It's to show
oh,
he's
when he's
hallucinating
hallucinating.
and
Yeah, okay.
dehydrated and stuff. But it's like 2 seconds long. It doesn't mean anything.
It
I
looks
don't
bad.
know. Yeah, but I think it goes into it's kind of meant to not look very good. I would have preferred if he saw something in the water or something, which might be a limitation on them for the making of the production. But
If it was still water, they could have done the easy thing of, sorry, I say easy. Could have done the thing of seeing his reflection in the water to his old self with the hair.
sure, or he could see Tweedledum or Tweedledee, whatever the other boat is. He could see it in the distance, screaming and hollering, and then it just fades away or something. Something that's a little bit more relevant
In two
because they do
seconds,
establish the other boat.
constellations. Yeah.
I subjectively like the constellations, but that's just because I love space. So not really relevant to the movie. I will
Something
say,
else I didn't really
oh,
find too relevant was just Patricia calling Joe Felix.
I mean, goes with her like sturdy character and her defiance to her father. So I'm fine
Yeah,
with her
but
doing it.
I wish it kept going and to give like more reason. And maybe like an
Why specifically
acceptance.
Felix?
Well, not specifically Felix, but just calling Joe with whatever she wants to call Joe by, and then during the soul sickness scene to actually give more respect to Joe to then end the conversation by calling him Joe.
yeah,
I think
and
that would have felt more of a caring thing. because at first it kind of gave me the impression of like Quigley, where he gets called Roy throughout the movie,
Okay.
but then that has
I'm,
an explanation as to why this is just the joke of like her character, like, oh, I just do what I want.
I'm game to building a payoff to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She changes to his real name as a character growing moment. That would be good.
Yeah, I'd be down for that too. Be stronger than what we have.
Yeah, we don't have much.
Yeah, don't have much. But as it is, I'm technically fine with it because it is just a character thing. But they definitely could have made it better.
Yeah, I don't feel anything for the romance, but I objectively recognize there's stuff here.
Yes.
um,
Okay, and that was Crimson's big thing on the romance. So let's go to
yeah,
writer.
a small point. I actually really liked during Patricia's exposition scene. Um, I do one bit I really liked is just the line that she hates that she had a price. I think that's a very good line.
Sorry, can you
She
say
had a
that one more time?
price. Yeah, can you?
Yeah,
What do you mean by price? I
yeah.
guess I missed the detail.
She hates that she has a price when she says that she
Oh,
put
with her
in
father
she named a
getting the boat.
number
Yeah.
to get a boat, and then now she works for him, and she said she hates that she has a price. I actually quite like that line of dialogue.
No, yeah, I thought the whole moment was pretty good for her character. How she didn't want to be part of her dad's business or a part of her father, but she caved in because he offered the boat. So she now has a price. She the price of the boat is more than her moral standing.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was nice. It's
Yeah.
just a good line of dialogue that expresses a lot about her character.
Yeah. And I do think that's one of her strongest scenes, if not the strongest.
Okay. I have a question for the two of you because I guess I took it as a joke that I didn't quite understand, but maybe you two have better explanation to it. When Joe and Patricia get to the island and they're braided and taken to the chief, it then cuts to all the Waponies just knocked out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna have an answer for that. I don't know. That was on the absurd comedy angle for me because they don't even explain it. Like it's like their form of bowing to the chief or something. That's never come up. So no idea. And the him holding his soul or spirit in his hand as the doll, that also isn't relevant.
Oh, the Toby,
Yeah,
something like that.
so maybe a bit more added to that would have been interesting. Like they made a doll for Joe, so even if he dies to the volcano, his spirit lives on in the village or something. I don't know. It
Maybe
seems
this
like some
movie
random elements.
this movie has a lot of like soul stuff, like hints.
yeah.
Like the beginning song of like sold my soul to the company store, and then his soul's falling off. Then the chief is like holding his soul, and
Oh yeah, and she brought up Soulless or what I forgot what she said.
oh,
She
soul
brought up
sick.
the
Yeah,
Soul
yeah
sick.
she brought up the same similar thing that that he was going through as he was soul sick with his job.
So yeah, there's something there with that, but I don't know why they all collapse on the ground.
okay. I was just curious if that had an explanation, if it was like the dying off of a sugar high of the soda, or
Yeah,
something I missed. But I
there was no
Possibly.
in universe explanation. The best I can assume is either it was their way of showing deference to the chief, or they're not supposed to look upon like his soul or whatever. So that whenever he walks out with his doll, he needs to they need to all do their thing and just bow out pretty much.
Yeah, all I get is it's correlated to the Chiefs' presence, but we don't see it again when he's in their presence. So I don't know.
okay, yeah. I guess I just saw it as the humor that didn't land with me because it wasn't questioned by Joe or Patricia. Like, oh, should we lay down? Or like they would attempt when the chief comes in, no, stand the two of you or something to like them, or them questioning why everyone fell, or the chief telling them, this is my Toby, don't look at my Toby. I guess indicate like why everyone else isn't looking, or
Yeah. Definitely, it's definitely a joke, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like the characters would react to what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Looking at my notes though, does remind me. I think I know what my favorite shot in the movie is,
Let's
Oh.
hear it.
and that is when Joe is revealed at the party in his tux, and it pans up to him, and he's like nonchalantly sipping a little drink while everyone's cheering him on at the party.
All right.
Might be a good shot.
I screenshotted my favorite, and I might put it as a wallpaper if I can crispen it up a bit.
Wallpaper. Wow.
Yeah, it might be wallpaper. I really just like the typhoon scene of Patricia at the front of the boat with the greenish blue hue and everything.
Yeah, with
I thought that looked really cool.
yeah, I would say it
Oh,
looks
right
decent.
before it starts.
Yeah,
Yeah, before it starts and before Joe comes up to her, where she's just standing there. Looks cool.
I agree. It is a fun shot.
How's everyone's notes looking? Just curious.
Less than we started with.
Oh, great. Feel like right as the same.
A few.
Few. Okay.
Yeah, I got a few.
Okay. Let's then go to Crimson.
All right, so this volcano, I don't get it. It doesn't erupt. It just sinks the island.
It poofs.
Well, yeah, the god or whatever.
Sure.
The island.
I mean, that's I guess a question. Are we to believe there is a fire god here, or is it just a volcano? I'm leaning it's just a weird volcano.
I think it's just a volcano, because if it was a god, I feel like they'd have some kind of monster in the smoke, or a hand come out, or something.
Some growl noise as they get
Yeah.
expelled or something.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
kind of. Yeah, I don't think there's a god. If there, I mean, there's definitely a god of plot armor, but I don't know if that's. My plot armor here is mostly nicks for what happens, or nicks and nitpicks. Because yeah, at this point, it's just the volcano just has a weird schedule and erupts. It has a cycle in which it erupts, and somehow throwing somebody into it disrupts it, because otherwise their island would have sunk.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense of it sinking because that's not what happens.
Well, no one was sacrificed to it.
I suppose so, but it doesn't work that way. It's not how volcanoes
Or
work.
maybe the volcano said, no, I don't want 2 sacrifices. It's only ever been 1.
It's disrespectful to me. I won't.
You screwed up.
Yeah, could be. I mean, the only I can't believe I'm gonna do this. The only justification for it that I can think of, Crimson, as to why the island is sinking, is that when it quote unquote erupts, the explosion that causes the eruption was enough to crack the island from the base, like in earthquake style. I mean,
We don't even
but
see that.
I know that's the only justification I can think of for this absurd scenario.
So I don't think the volcano, how it's implemented, is good at all. I think it's bad. Them getting expelled is humorous to how poor it is.
Yeah,
It's terrible green screen.
It's pretty bad.
it spits them right out into
Them
the ocean.
jumping in and it out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
plot armor. I don't, absurdist humor or not, I have to label this as plot armor just because there's so many things that go on.
Yes, definitely some character plot armor there.
I mean, is it physically possible?
No.
Can the
No.
exhaust of a volcano blast a human being out?
It would
Okay.
probably blast your skin off your body and melt you a little bit.
It might blast you out, but you're going out in chunks of charred meat.
And I agree. Certainly plot armor.
And I wish it's been so long since I learned anything about volcanoes, but I think with how close they were to the source of the volcano, you might start catching fire from that distance.
No, I've
You don't
seen 2 BSAA agents be close to lava and they didn't catch on fire.
You know what? That's a great point.
you don't
Could have
catch on
considered.
fire unless you make direct contact. Um, unless it's you linger there for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, because
So
I definitely know you can catch fire not contacting lava. I just don't remember the range or duration.
you need to be really close and you have to be near it for a while. I mean the example I always go to is there's stuff on YouTube that film people like stepping into a lava flow and then stepping out of it before their shoe catches fire. Um, don't recommend this, by the way, audience. Uh, stay safe.
Yeah,
Uh,
don't go stepping in lava. Don't do that.
yeah, those are professionals or TikTokers. In either case, it's a win. Uh, and the the yeah, so it's not that it has to do with duration and uh how so like if you're close or in proximity and already heated up and then you're super close to lava, you will eventually catch fire. So I don't think they would have caught fire, but because it quote unquote exploded with them falling down, I still think that would make them catch fire.
Oh, they're guaranteed dead once they jumped in there. The
Yeah,
explosion took them out. They're
yeah,
goners.
yeah. And if that didn't take them out, the fall certainly did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
it was like a cartoon.
Yes, it was. I did catch a little continuity error at 1 hour 30 and 50. Uh, hugging themselves to steady when the volcano kind of erupted, and it's kind of the wider shot to show the two of them overlooking the lava. They hug, and then
Mhm.
it cuts to Patricia, who says a line, and when it cuts to her next, they are no longer hugging.
Oh, good catch.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things like that in the film. I didn't write down timestamps though, but yeah, that seemed to happen a couple times in the film.
Let's go to writer.
Okay. One thing that sort of worked for me in the humor, or in the sense that I didn't bother me or I didn't find anything wrong with it, was the juxtaposition of essentially Joe being tortured and beaten with fish to like Patricia just like being covered in flowers. They're doing her nails and
And he's getting stabbed with bananas.
getting stabbed with
Yeah,
bananas. Uh, yeah, just
yeah,
a
it
bit
was a
of
good juxtaposition between the two.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that joke multiple times though.
Yeah, I mean it's not a unique one.
it's not a
The
unique one.
fish slapping is pretty unique.
Oh yeah, with some nice good old fake fish that are
Oh yeah,
hard as a board. Okay, Crimson.
that's me. So I appreciate that they gave an explanation to why they needed an outsider as a sacrifice. It's a
Yeah,
goofy explanation, but it's an explanation nonetheless of the tribe people are too into the soda to want to sacrifice themselves. And then the chief needs to be the chief, so he can't sacrifice himself. So I appreciate they at least covered that base and it wasn't just like unanswered. Why wouldn't they want to sacrifice someone to save
their
their
village.
civilization?
Yeah,
Yeah. So appreciate that. Don't know how the rich guy even found this island, now that I'm thinking about it.
It's the only island with
Whatever mineral
Babalu
he
or
But
needs.
whatever.
how did he find out about the mineral there?
Because he needed more Babalu for his superconductors.
He needed the
I don't know.
unobtainium, obviously.
How did the guy
So
know where to find unobtainium on Pandora?
Yeah, so a funny
Just
joke that
probably spectrographs or
some
something.
funny thing I learned about unobtainium during a lore video for Avatar the other day. It's supposed to help with superconductors.
Oh, interesting.
Wow,
And I
good
thought that was
parallel.
hilarious to watch this movie just soon after uh, learning that tidbit.
This was the inspiration for James Cameron.
You know what? That explains why everything else after
Yikes.
Avatar 1 was shit.
Yikes.
I still haven't seen the third one yet.
I stopped halfway through.
So, are all the Waponis dead?
Yeah.
Yes, just like the other people on the
They don't
boat.
have main character energy. I think they're dead.
All just got murdered.
Yeah, and I think it goes into the element of the movie's comedy where the characters don't even react to them dying. They're just like, "Oh, all right, let's
Yeah,
talk about our future."
yeah. As the volcano's going down, there's no screams or cries or it's just the volcano is going down.
They just accepted it.
Well, you wouldn't hear the screams from that far away, but them reacting like, "Oh no, the chief and the people." Anyways, uh, don't even get that.
Yes, very sad.
There's like we're alive in the middle of nowhere, and then the luggage comes back. Like, oh, we're saved.
I
That
do.
magic luggage.
It's dumb, but I do appreciate the fact that we see the luggage made it onto the island before it reappears again. So we know that the luggage, quote unquote, was saved and wasn't left out just drifting in the ocean.
Yeah, it was just so lucky that it was where they were in the
Yeah,
entire ocean.
yeah. It teleported from where it was stored on the island to just popping up where they were.
Well, it turns out the tribe threw the luggage in the volcano before them, and it got blown out earlier. So
I
then
see.
they got blown out to where it landed. So and then the stupid rope that keeps spawning with this luggage is ridiculous. The first time it was turned into a raft, rope out of nowhere. You don't even see any debris from the boat. And then at the end, it's just the luggage and them, and now there's a rope to tie a new new raft.
The second rope, yes. The first rope is shown. It's around Patricia.
Yeah, it's the
That's not enough for
Patricia's
the
rope.
entire boat.
No. She went up to repair something, and so she was wearing it
Yeah,
across
it
her
was on
sack.
her. She
Yeah.
fell off the boat. Joe jumped in after her, saved her, and then grabbed the luggage. So the rope was on her to tie the first raft. The second one, yeah, completely. I don't know where that came from.
Best guess is they saved the rope and put it in the luggage, but that
That's the
should have been
mistake.
shown.
That's best case scenario.
Yeah. Also, we could just do the Jack Sparrow thing of using human hair. Just brush some sea turtles
Where's the
together.
turtles?
Okay. Let's do one more from everyone. So let's go with Crimson.
Okay. So I guess my continuity catch, because you both have had them and I haven't, is how Joe's injuries from the sun damage and all that stuff just disappears after the bath. Or during the bath, even. Because he's got like peeling skin, red rashes. He's got a lot of damage from being exposed at sea.
Yeah,
And then it just disappears.
it's that orange soda like lotion that they make on this island, you know? It's like
I didn't
magic.
consider that. So that would be my complaint. They didn't maintain continuity of his damage.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll go next.
Okay.
My last point is going to be the last conversation as they're sailing off into the sunset. Again, they don't have. I think not to hit on the romance point even more, but I do actually like the scene. I like that once he realizes he's not dying, he almost kind of falls back into like the anxiety that where that made him spend all his money to get all these tests because he wanted to know if it was the brain fog. So he kind of almost falls back into it, and then Patricia kind of stops him from going back into it because it's kind of absurd in a way, given all that he's gone through, to kind of fall into it in a very similar way. And I think the dialogue works predominantly for that payoff.
Yeah, he was getting his throat scratches back,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
I,
being a
yeah,
hypochondriac.
yeah. I
it's always
like
gonna be
the
something with you, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. I do like that she's kind of able to she's nonchalant enough to kind of circumvent it, and it's enough to help him. I like it.
Last one I got is a small little detail that it's for the humor, but I think it's okay. Is that during kind of the montage of Joe on the raft to begin with, in the quote unquote 2 week span, one of the instances is showing him shaving, so he doesn't start actually like growing facial hair to arrive to the island.
Yeah. Yeah, using the salt water.
Salt
Good thing he
water.
doesn't. Well, to clean the brush.
Oh,
The
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm like I don't know what salt water does to affect the growth of facial hair, but
Well, no, I mean if he rubbed it on his face, it could infect um,
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
anything. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, is there any other last ones that everyone's itching to get off their chest to share for summaries and ratings?
my last thing would be the rich guy. I would have liked some sort of closure with him because he doesn't get what he wants by the end. Um, like if he was on the island greeting him like, "Hey, you made it," or something, and then he dies at the end. I don't know what his ending would be, but some closure because there is no closure to him. His story doesn't get anything. That's what I feel I'm lacking in this
Closure to Graynamore. Okay.
because he's
Patricia's
kind of
dad.
he's the plot of the movie essentially. He's what gets Joe on this whole adventure, and he doesn't get anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with that. Given that he has relation to both the characters here at the end, it would be nice if we got some closure to it.
I don't know if it'd be like a post-credit scenes of them back in the real world, and he's just crying that he lost his valuable resource, or I don't know. It could be anything, but the nothing is what's a void in the film for me.
Well, Crimson, I didn't jot it down, but there was an alternate version to the ending of this film.
Ooh, is it available? Is it out there?
I don't know, but I can read off to you what IMDb has listed for what the alternate ending was.
All right, I'm curious.
It was reshot, which was unpopular with test audiences. In the original ending, after Joe and Patricia are expelled by the volcano, they are rescued by the Tweedledum, the sister of the yacht that was sunk. On board, our rescued crew of the D are, well as Graynamore and Dr. Ellison, turns out to be Graynamore's ex-accountant, by the name of Kenneth. Graynamore reveals he had Kenneth pose as a doctor to make Joe think he had a fatal disease, and then Kenneth pulls a gun on Joe to protect Graynamore from Joe's anger and to allow Graynamore to keep the yacht. Joe, having stared into the mouth of the volcano, calmly swipes the gun from Kenneth and announces to Graynamore that he and Patricia have gotten married. They both banish Graynamore and Kenneth to a boat's dinghy in the middle of the ocean, where Graynamore tells Kenneth that he likes Joe and admits being banished in a small dinghy in the middle of the ocean is the price to pay for being too greedy, and tells Kenneth to row him home. Back at the Tweedledum, Joe and Patricia see the four trunks popping out of the surface, with the chief riding on one of them, brandishing his Toby, happily telling them he soul. Joe replies he didn't lose his either. The only remnant from the original ending is that in the end credits, you can see an artist's rendition of Tweedledum sailing off in the distance.
I'll take that. I want that. I'll take that over what we got. It sounds a bit convoluted and over the top, but so's the film in some degrees. But I find that more fulfilling than what we have.
Huh. Okay. I guess that makes you in the minority,
I guess so. I
since
mean, what do you
test
guys feel
audiences
about
didn't
it?
like that. Uh, for how wild of a movie this is,
It gives more closure to all the characters, which is probably why I'm leaning more towards its probably a more worthwhile ending. That being said, I do appreciate the simplicity of just these two characters who are now having a romance in quotes, uh, being on their own. So I feel like that one would be an objectively better ending, but I think I would still prefer this one subjectively.
I think I'm also leaning with keeping the one that is in the movie because I don't think showing Joe getting angry is something needed.
That would be out of character, I think.
Yeah. To
Well, at
also
this
kind
point,
of
his
pose
character's
it.
progressed.
Yeah, but also to kind of pose it of like killing Gray Namor and Kenneth.
Well, they're ambiguous. They're not dead.
Well, in this world, no, they're not dead.
Well, I
But
mean, even if they were left in a dinghy, they're not dead. They're just probably going to die. Same with the chief.
yeah, I think I like the one we have. Keeps the characters as is.
Right. I mean, and I guess to say my piece on it, I think what we got is okay, but I prefer getting more info with the other one.
Okay. Well, with that, then that has been the coverage of Joe versus the Volcano, where we are now going to summaries and ends. And let us start with Crimson.
Okie dokie. I got a little bit of Madam Web vibes in the respects that I was going to this expecting it to be hot garbage. Leaving, I didn't see it as hot garbage. I'm at a 6. There was enjoyment to be had. I found amusement throughout, here and there. Found most of the characters at least interesting. Joe, probably the least interesting, funny enough, being the main character and all. But yeah, there was enjoyment here. Objectively, I think this is going to be one of the harder ones because a lot of it is very, I feel, subjective leaning with a lot of the elements we discussed. I think in terms of the characters, Joe is pretty consistent with his I don't care, I have no value in existence, I'm going to die attitude. His progression into his romance um, is probably the biggest jump, which doesn't feel fully realized. So I would put that as some character damage. It's not a fully realized relationship with him. Um, all the other like background one-off characters are pretty much fine. They don't have enough screen time or come back in a manner that would trip up the continuity of themselves. Um, the rich guy, the dad, him not having an established reason to how he came across Joe, I think is um, what did I label that? I think I labeled that as an issue. Um, him not having an established reason, I think, is an issue. The film potentially being split up between three stories, as Sprinks thinks, or two, as I kind of feel, is notable, but I don't think I'm going to apply it as any objective damage because it still fits within the continuity of the story that's being told. Um, the absurdist comedy that is sprinkled throughout, I think, mostly justifies a lot of stuff, but there are the outliers, of course. Them in the volcano is too out there for what we have established in this. That is cartoon level, and I wouldn't consider this movie's absurd comedy to be cartoon level. That's pushing it too far. The 2 week time span in the ocean, like I said, I labeled that as a problem. It is. It changes the whole film, and it just doesn't make any sense, even with the absurdist angle. I think the creative depiction of the colors in this, as I brought up earlier, of the how the typhoon looked, or the city lights, or his apartment complex lights, or whatever the street is. Um, I think it does have a little bit of an identity to it, and I do think they did a good job doing that. Springs brought up some audio stuff with the doctor, and we all talked about continuity errors there throughout. So I'm at a 6.5. I think most elements are okay, but there are some slacking elements. So that's where I'm at.
Alrighty. Writer, do you want to go next or do you want to go last?
I'll go last this time. If I'm allowed to
Okay,
pick.
cool. I'll go next. Yeah, I was just curious on that. I'll go next. Let me start with my subjective. I didn't find this movie funny. I think the comedy is a blanket of an excuse over the whole this film, and I think it's weird in that vein. I don't find the romance believable. I think it's rushed and there's nothing built for it. And for being a rom-com listed film, I think it failed on both fronts. I can see people finding this movie funny if it's their type of humor. I cannot really see people believing in the romance of it because I think it's weak comparatively to what a romance could have. I think the story is questionable to know if this is a real world or not. It really feels like that first half hour in New York isn't, and then kind of goes in believability with LA and the boat. But even still, it has absurdist humor to cut into it, but it's not the whole world's absurdist humor. And like that's high listed reality. So it's confusing that front. It's not very clear onto the audience of what it's going with. I don't think that's what it's aiming for. I think what it's aiming for Joe and how Joe goes about his life in his world. I don't see it as like this is how Joe sees the world when he's like the factory looks to him and when he's happy, everything's brighter in LA, and then things get mellowed out with Marshall and the tragedy of the typhoon. And I don't see that at all. That could be someone's approach. Subjectively, I don't like this. I can see why this is a very. I have this as a 2.5. Uh, Objectively, I think the cinematography is very kind of bland, and there's a couple shots that aren't good. I think the editing is overall kind of bland, and a couple editing things are not good. The one editing I do like is the transition with the hands. I think that's a good jump to get him to the doctor's office. And that's kind of it. That really stands out. I think the effects of a movie made in 1990 are pretty bad. I don't know where this budget went. It was $25 million and everything, but the bad green screen of the volcano, this hammerhead shark joke, the constellations, the oh boy, just a couple other things I think are poor, and I don't know if that's for the charm of the movie or not. I don't know if it's actually purpose of like trying to get budget cut of like let's get this in here and this is what we can do. What I don't see as a budget cut is the audio. There's some audio scuffs with people talking in conversations, and I don't know to they had on hand. So that was leaning fine to poor. Um, I think something I will give good props to is the music. I think the soundtrack of this movie fits in the scenes where it's being played, like the shots of the ship out on the water. I think that music matches pretty well. The chant that the Waponis have going up to the volcano, I think, is pretty fitting. Uh, so I think the music in the movie is pretty fun. The dance that Tom Hanks has on the boat, I think that's pretty fitting of the music and everything. Um, the writing, I'm sorry, I find this weak. I think this is poor writing, and I don't know if that is the writer for this movie had the overall idea on what the theme was that he wanted to get across of like this is the change of someone's life and where you go and soul searching and all, and maybe that was like the idea. The execution of what to write I don't think flowed very well. I think it was very clunky pacing of like feeling like three different things in one movie, uh, which made the whole like romance rushed. Even though there is romance throughout the movie of Joe with Dee Dee, Joe with Angelica, Joe with Pacifica, not Pacifica, Patricia.
Patricia.
Sorry. To go with that, and I guess that's like the overarching like find your person thing, and Joe doesn't have a person to find. I get that message and theme that they're going with, but to make it believable, it's not enough, I think. And the attempt, which goes into the humor of it, is that all three of those females are played by Meg Ryan, and which goes into the joke of like, I feel like I've seen you before, but then the last one he goes, I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen you. Okay. I think Joe is a dull character, and that's totally fine for to be a dull character. But for serious moments or funny moments, for him to stay dull, I don't think he bounced much on those. I think a lot of the writing could definitely be stronger with the choices of dialogue that could have been said. It feels like I really like, to me, the big instance was like the DD thing where, why do you treat him? I don't know. Well, how do you feel? Bad. Well, what are you going to do about it? See a doctor. Like, that feels so weak to me. And the repetitious jokes of Vittoria on the phone, I understand, like, same day in job, day out job, same thing, but I feel like the dialogue could mean the same thing without the same word being repeated differently over again, which maybe is my big hit with this movie, is the introduction to the movie. The half hour is the hook, and that's my feel going into it. Not so much like at that half hour mark where then he goes to LA, you get this whole deal. I usually, the lighting, there's definitely 100% artificial lighting throughout this movie that looks very cheap. I don't know, and the lighting that really comes from, I guess, day shots outside, like in LA or on, fine. But objectively overall, weighing all that, I have it at
Can you repeat your number real quick?
oh, sorry. Weighing all that, my apologies. I have this objectively at a 3.5.
Sorry. All right, I guess that leaves me. I'll do my subjective first. I was told this was from you guys that this is, or in like in other conversations, this is the lowest rated Tom Hanks film. Definitely set an expectation of what I thought it was going to be another. It was just going to be bad. I had somewhat of a Madam Web experience, but not to the degree Crimson did. I did have some enjoyment in this film. I'm still not going to watch it again though, so I'm subjectively at a 4. I don't. It was okay. That's pretty much how I feel about it. It was okay. Um, I didn't hate any of the characters compared to the Burbs, I guess, where my hate for a particular character just really dragged down my subjective feeling of the movie. I didn't really have that this time around. The characters that did annoy me weren't around that long. If I had to deal with Angelica the whole movie, probably would be lower. The voice that Megan Kelly was putting on was intentionally obnoxious, but overall, um, didn't hate the movie as much as I thought I was going to. Objectively, to not repeat what other people have said, I'm not to repeat completely. The plot has can be divided into 2 sections. There's the adventure section, and then there's the boring job section. And I would say the same thing could be said about the world. The world can be applied into kind of dystopian, exaggerated feeling of a job, very, very different and distinct from the exaggeration that occurs later on with the volcano. I don't view those as inherently incompatible, but I do view those as not married well together. So I do view that as some damage done to the world building. With the plot, I think I am with Crimson. The 2 weeks thing is probably a big hit. It for me is a big hit on the on just the time scale of how everything's supposed to work for the last act of the film. I think before then, showing the mundane job and jumping to adventure, ideally a good scenario. It's kind of archetypal and typical storytelling. You're showing how terrible the day-to-day life is for Joe before transitioning into something more adventurous, which is, typically how stories are told. I do think that shift can be a little bit smoother, but it wasn't awful to me. With the romance, I've said my piece on it. I think there's a foundation here. I don't think there's anything beyond that. Um, there could have been more opportunities, and I do think that a lot of that is derived out of how Joe is portrayed as a character. I do think him being a dull character predominantly is a good choice for the character, but it drags down what could be other more interactive scenes for him to bounce off other characters to show him growing, to show his attraction to Patricia at the end of the film, to show uh, it comes across as like missed opportunities. And one of the things I found myself having to do this movie for quite a bit is I had to infer a lot to kind of explain how these the differences in the films kind of fit together, the comedy fitting within the world, where the seriousness ends and the absurdity begins. You know, what does Joe find attractive about Patricia, that sort of thing. So I found myself having to infer a lot, and I'm, if not really given anything solid, I don't think inferences are enough to rely on for your film. So I'm kind of towards the lower end of my average rating. And I think the main reason for that is the world building and plot damages that are done, or sorry, the world building damages that are done, and I might convince myself out of this to talk through characters, so we'll see. Um, so Joe, I think, has issues. Nothing really inconsistent about him, but I do tie his issues in with the humor and the character work that's supposed to be being done with him. Um, I think Dee Dee has quite a gaping nick into her character. I would say, I'm not saying it's inconsistent, but it doesn't match with what we see of her. Both her being, kind of tattletale on Joe, and then her kind of trying to like talk Joe up, like, why are you letting him talk to you? I don't see those things as compatible. And considering we don't get much of Dee Dee, that kind of hurts the character for me quite a bit. Um, I think Angelica is fairly consistent. I don't really have much issue with her other than she's just kind of an absurdist character who's lost her soul, as Patricia so kindly puts it later on. Patricia, I think, is a fine character. I don't have any issues with her. What she's lacking is mostly chemistry with Joe, and what she's more to do with the romance. I think otherwise she's an okay ship captain. She comes across as someone who would be in charge of this vessel. She's doing the right things, calling for radio, like, using the radio during the storm. I appreciated that. I do appreciate her willingness to put her life on the line to try and save her ship, and that kind of feeds into that she still feels like she's in her father's thumb. So I would probably say she's ends up being the most well written character of the bunch. Mostly because even though obviously she's lacking some chemistry work with Joe, and I have talked myself up from where I was originally going to say my number. Marshall's fine, came in, did his thing, came out. I don't really find anything out of character for him. The boss, funny. At the beginning, the boss is funny. I personally don't like him, but that's because I have had experience with people like this in my life. Um, I don't think he's does anything inconsistent. The only thing arguable one is maybe the job, like he's not doing his job and he's making Joe's job harder. But I don't know if that's inconsistent because I don't spend enough time with him. Um, and I think that's it. I'm gonna land objectively at a 5.
Okay. Trying to think where all those scores average out the movie to be. It sounding like a 4.
4 or 5.
Oh, 4 or 5.
5. Bye.
Unintentionally, I ended up between both of you, I think, relatively equally. Almost, anyway.
Makes more sense to me than what Crimson said. Crimson, you're a lunatic.
What do you mean?
6? A 6. You gave this a 6.
Yeah, I did. There was enjoyment here.
You're wild.
I guess we'll find out.
2.5.
You're an animal. It's not fun. It's not a good movie.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, gentlemen, shall I read us out? Or do you have anything else to add?
I think gave Hook a 4. Just putting it out there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want to revisit that. Just, you know.
Don't remind me. Let at least say that for the recap, please. I don't want to live with that right now.
Pish posh. I'm ready.
Yes, audience, you get to find out what's happening in the next episode, as we said from last episode.
If it wasn't clear so far.
Yet.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, CastBox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Podcasts, and Samsung. And if it be our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thinking of watching our Peony YouTuber slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.